Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It is a Friday edition. We've got Michael Parkhurst coming up at 9:30. We've got Mike Conti coming up at 10 o'clock. We've got our MLS preview at 10:30. The fastest 30 minutes you'll find in MLS preview action anywhere in the world. I don't know if there is another one. But anyway, it's really fast. Thanks to everybody who came out last night to Elsewhere Brewing. It was packed. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun. If you didn't get a chance to hang out with us or watch it live, you can watch it on Twitch. And you can also go directly to the Santiago Sosa interview if you would like. Great to talk to Santi for as long as we did. His English is getting very good. He even understood me most of the time. So that was crazy. Santi was great and got to have kind of a different conversation with Santi. It wasn't just about the last game, the next game, the usual stuff. We got to kind of dig into things a little bit with Santiago Sosa. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody at the Flood Project. Scott and Jen were a massive help pulling us together. The Argentine consulate were amazing to work with, and I hope we get to work with them quite a bit more in the future. All the guests we met from the consulate and their friends. Atlanta United, obviously getting players out. Marcelino Moreno, Thiago Almada, Santiago Sosa, all hanging out in the building with us. Justin providing translation, all kinds of great stuff. It was a lot of fun last night. Go back and check that out on the Twitch video stream to get caught up. We got to get caught up on the U.S. Open Cup because we had games last night. We know who is into the third round now, and we even know, thanks to U.S. Soccer dropping this at like 12:28 a.m. on the East Coast after the last games, we know what the geographic groups are for the draw. Now, a couple of things. This is not where you have to get out of your group and then move forward. There's going to be a new geographic grouping when the final MLS teams come in the fourth round. This is just to see who you draw today. I think there is one more geographic grouping after the fourth round, which is round of 32. Round of 16 is, I think, where you actually get a bracket. So, on the Atlanta United front, we know who they can draw. It's going to be one of Birmingham Legion, Chattanooga FC of Nisa, or South Georgia Tormenta, who knocked off the Charleston Battery. There will not be an Open Cup match against the Charleston Battery. Hallelujah. Woo! Full credit to Tormenta as well for winning that game yesterday morning. That was a lot of fun. We know the other groupings as well. Couple of big picture things with this. MLS teams will not be drawn against other MLS teams in their geographic grouping. Atlanta doesn't have one, but others do. Miami and Orlando won't play. Jarrett, we might get that Orlando-Tampa Bay Rowdies game. It's a 1-2 chance.
That's really all I want in life. Although,
and you might get the Inter Miami, the Miami FC match.
Yeah, the battle for Miami.
Can we just rig that part of the draw?
I hope so, because there is something almost disappointing about if we get the Miami FC and Orlando playing.
Yeah.
That's because like I don't know that Inter Miami and Tampa have any animosity. They might be cool.
Have you seen Tampa play? I'm sure they can find animosity.
Tampa can find animosity, but they don't have it preset.
Yeah, I like the preset. It's going to be fun if we get the draw we want in the Florida section. The Texas section, you've got Austin, you've got Dallas, you've got Houston Dynamo, you've got FC Tulsa, you've got San Antonio FC, and you've got Rio Grande Valley FC. All MLS, all USL championship in that one. The SoCal section has LA Galaxy, LAFC, San Diego Loyal, Orange County SC, FC Tucson gets dumped into this one, and California United Strikers of NISA. The Northern California section, you've got San Jose, your beloved Quakes, Jarrett, will get one of the Sacramento Republic, Fresno Fuego, or Bay Cities FC.
I don't think they want anything to do with this team. I watched some of Sacramento last night. That game was over within like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was so excited. I was thinking like the South was really the land of cup sets this year. There were cup sets outside of the South. Don't get me wrong. Your beloved Oyster Bay, they gave it a run for its money.
They gave it a go.
They did. They actually crawled back out at 2-1 late against Hartford. Hartford picked up that third goal to put it away, but
they gave it a go. That's all I can ask.
Yeah, that's all you can ask in those situations. But the South seemed to be where you got a lot of your cup sets and a lot of your, hey, keep an eye on wild stuff.
Yeah. Mountain section, Real Salt Lake will get one of New Mexico, Northern Colorado, Hailstorm. I don't want any part of those guys. And Phoenix Rising. Phoenix might
That's
be
just because
beatable.
you don't want to catch a two-piece on a spinning back fist.
Exactly. Dude threw an elbow into somebody's solar plexus, gets grabbed, spins around, not the same arm, other arm catches him with a spinning back fist. It's one of the most impressive moves I've seen in a fight, let alone on a soccer pitch.
There was some big Mortal Kombat 2 energy in that. Like, somebody hit a combo.
Well, that guy can't do it because he'll be suspended for the next game, but he might teach somebody else to do it. I'm not putting anything past the Hailstorm. The North section has Chicago, has Minnesota out of MLS. They have Lou City out of USL Championship. They have Forward Madison and Union Omaha out of USL League One, and they have St. Louis City 2 out of MLS Next Pro. That's a really interesting grouping of teams. I mean, Forward Madison had a good win. They did beat an NPSL team in Cleveland. Okay, you don't want to deal with Fulmingo. Nobody wants to deal with Fulmingo. Lou City is one of the best defensive teams you're going to find. They've only given up one goal all year. Chicago doesn't want to deal with them. Minnesota doesn't want to deal with them. St. Louis City, I mean, that's not your typical third division team. That's a team with some guys with a chip on their shoulder trying to earn MLS contracts for next year. So that one's got a lot of potholes in it in that north section. The Central, we're going to have Columbus and Cincinnati. They're going to play either Detroit or Pittsburgh. Whew. That's a scary road for Columbus and Cincinnati.
Man, Bob Lilly and Pittsburgh with their defense?
Bob Lilly just squaring up at midfield with anyone at Cincinnati who wants it. He'll just come out the midfield and challenge. Hey, whoever wants to.
No, Jarrett, you want Bob Lilly and Caleb Porter.
Oh.
Well, that's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah, you do.
You want those two, and you want the field mics cranked all the way to 11.
Yeah,
Hey, guys, what if we didn't have a delay today? Yeah. Well, then we're going to have to broadcast the game after 10 p.m.
Yes, basically. That game
on Cinemax.
At 11 on Cinemax.
Another Caleb Porter halftime soundbite of Bob Lilly.
Oh man, Caleb's got a tough one because he gets Philadelphia this week. He's going to get potentially Bob Lilly coming up soon. Caleb's not going to be a happy camper by the end of the month.
Oof.
The Piedmont section has Charlotte drawing one of Greenville Triumph, North Carolina Fusion U23, the former Carolina Dynamo, or the Richmond Kickers, who I think are actually older than the Carolina Dynamo now, North Carolina Fusion U23 by a few months. Charlotte and Greenville would be a blast.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, that would be a blast. I think Charlotte and North Carolina Fusion U23 would be interesting too, but I'd love to see wherever it is the back and forth with the fans with Charlotte and Greenville. I have my fingers crossed for that draw.
And Charlotte's got a lot of that. You don't want this smoke energy, or I'm sure Greenville does.
Greenville's Charlotte's got it too. Yeah. They've got some of that too. Different conversation about it, but they've got some of that.
I'm very happy it broke this way because I was very nervous they were going to give us a Tormenta Greenville U.S. Open Cup match this round, and it wouldn't be. But I want them both to get cracks at MLS teams.
Yeah,
because I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, well, we don't know if they will because there's only one MLS team in their grouping. So if they don't get the MLS team, they'll get one of the other teams. I mean, that's the flip side. If you're a Greenville, for example, yeah, you'd love the big game with Charlotte and just what all of that brings. But if you're Greenville, you'd love to get North Carolina Fusion U23 because you'll be favored. You should win that game.
Yeah. And
you should move on. So you're looking at it from those two perspectives, and it's an interesting dichotomy. The last one, the Northeast section, you got DC, you've got Red Bulls out of MLS, you've got Rochester, New York FC, the former Rochester Rhinos.
I refuse to use that name.
Pro. Yeah, the former Rochester Rhinos. That's
No, they don't. That's not their name anymore, guys. We can say it at the end, but they are Rochester, New York FC.
Which is why I let you say it all the way before I snapped off.
Thanks,
I'm gonna let you get it out and get it out there correctly.
I don't.
But then I'm gonna snap off on Jamie Vardy for it.
I'll snap off of Jamie Vardy. I don't want it, but that's the name of the team. Thanks, Jamie. Hartford Athletic are here, FC Motown is here from the NPSL, and Flower City Union of Rochester is here. You could get a Rochester derby.
Oh, yeah.
In this one with Flower City and Rochester, New York FC official.
Flower City played a pretty drunk game last time out, too.
Yeah, they did. You could get Red Bulls and FC Motown, who have a lot of Red Bull connections, a lot of former Red Bulls players and staff. So, yeah, this one could get really interesting as well. But that's your geographic groupings. The MLS teams can't play each other. Everybody else is fair game. You're going to draw a team from that group, and then there's going to be a new draw when the remaining MLS teams come in next round. So that's where it stands. Noon today. You can watch it on the YouTube page for US Soccer. You can also watch it according to @OpenCup on Twitter, @OpenCup. I will kind of believe that one when I see it, but you can definitely watch it on the US Soccer YouTube. And there are no shirties here in the GoBots and or Transformers overseeing the draw. We could be in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know if the GoBots still have a job at Soccer House.
I'm sure that the GoBots will find their way into this broadcast somehow.
No, not if they're fired, John. How are they going to? The GoBots aren't breaking in to oversee a draw that they got fired from.
Well, if they do, then we have bigger problems that we need to talk about.
Exactly. Last time that the GoBots did not oversee a draw, they messed the draw up and then didn't go back and fix it. With something with Minnesota not being able to host and around, and instead of like going back and putting the right teams where they should be, they just let it stand and flipped who was hosting that game, which would have changed everything.
Yeah.
So please, none of that. And if we have to get GoBots or Transformers or Voltron dolls, I don't care. One of them, make sure this thing goes off without a hitch. That's all I ask.
Yes. Noon. Get your meal.
In theory.
Yes, in theory. So get your.
They're not going to have a musical set of performances like they did for the World Cup draw.
It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of technical difficulties, or hey, it's actually 12:15 before we get going.
Plugging in
weird stuff
into the sockets so things can work. Yes,
I don't think they're going to have an intern sing a song before we get started.
No, neither do I. But I always expect the unexpected with them. With this. Always expect things to get kind of weird.
No, yeah, they might actually not plug in the camera or something, and they might have to start to wait.
See, that's the most likely is you start hearing welcome to the draw for the U.S. Open Cup third round, and you're just looking at a black screen.
Yeah. So what is more likely? They forget to plug in the camera or turn it on, or they leave it on mute?
The former.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a signal first before you can worry about other things. So I'm looking.
Listen to John, the king of leaving it on mute, trying to defend them on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to have a video signal first. So I'm thinking that the first thing is what is incorrect about it.
No, you don't. You don't even know what you're talking about.
They're going to end up
this is not TV. This is a stream like we do right here.
They're going to end up doing like we did it. There was a Georgia State game we did where we check it. We fax out way before the game. You get everything set up. And as we're sitting there ready to go, one of our floor cameras just cuts out, and the fiber cable just went to hell immediately. So then we just, as people are getting ready to play a basketball game, you have engineers laying on the court just trying to rewire this cable, like cutting it open, trying to redo the cable.
Guys, you guys
That's what you're going to have.
No, you're not, because you're not going to be doing anything like that. This is going to be like somebody running it off their phone. Okay. Like you're talking about faxing things out and fiber optic cables. This is going to be a phone sitting on a giant Voltron to make sure it's angled right. And like a little boom mic plugged into it. That's what it's going to be. They might not have cell signal.
Okay, the phone doesn't lean on the Voltron to make sure it's sitting there, right? The Voltron sits in the background.
The Voltron's got to be holding the phone.
No.
The Voltron is the background overseeing this, like a KPMG audit.
I don't know if the Voltron has two jobs. I think the Voltron might have to hold the phone.
The Voltron probably has an intern, to be honest.
It's possible. We'll see. We'll see where this thing goes. Now people are arguing about who the musical performers would be if they had them. And I do agree with Presidents of the United States of America, and they can play Dune Buggy, and I'll be very happy.
How did they get Mercy's Playground back out here? I didn't know they were still around. That's impressive.
No, Jared, I'm gonna have to backhand you next time I see you. Don't ever mention that band's name again, please. Ever, never. No.
Jason spent way too much time in Athens.
I hate that song with such a passion. And yes, it's one song. You mentioned the group. It's one song. I hate.
Oh yeah, it's a one-hit wonder. I mean,
God, awful. Okay, we got about 8 minutes before Michael Parkhurst joins us. No, it's not Voltron slander at all, Ropes. This is Voltron love. Voltron was my favorite of this era of things when I was a kid, and then Voltron has lived forever, I believe. Voltron's had many comebacks. I love the Voltron. Marcy Playground, Thomas. I'm not a fan of their one hit. Not at all. Not a fan of Marcy Playground. Yeah, not good.
Get anyway. Eiffel 65 out there.
What, are you going to have Nick come running out?
Yes, Nick Alifi's going to come out of the tunnel.
Nick's going to come running out singing Eiffel 65. It's not even going to be Eiffel. It might be Eiffel 65. We don't know who Eiffel 65 is. They're in blue suits. It could be anybody.
It could be. So I guess I want to use can I use my last 7 minutes to ask a question?
I'm afraid, but yes.
That's a loaded.
Okay.
That's a loaded.
Well, no. This is a legitimate question for Atlanta
pertaining
to the Open Cut.
First off, are you coming back for the 30-minute MLS preview of Doom?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just checking. Okay, now go ahead.
So this pertains to Atlanta United and the Open Cup. Because Katie asked about, have to welcome U.S. Open Cup legends, Brandon Vasquez, welcome. Let's bring that up real quick. Who on this roster are you looking at right now? Who would be your dark horse to attain U.S. Open Cup legend status?
Dom Dwyer.
Yeah,
that's a legitimate question.
I could see Dom Dwyer with multiple goals and maybe some serious ish housing late in a game, and probably a card of some point, and probably somebody taking a swing at him. I could see all of that happening in one of these games, and I would love it.
Absolutely. I like that.
It'd be amazing.
I like that pick.
I agree with Wile E. Coyote as well. When we mentioned the Voltron, this is very important. We're talking about the Lions, not the stupid offshoot one with planes and cars and other vehicles. That was stupid.
The OG Voltron.
Yes, that was not the vehicle Voltron. That was dumb. 50-50 Dom gets a red card in U.S. Open Cup. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I think it's 50-50 he gets a brace as well. So yes. I'll go both.
Go with the extremes with Dom in the Open Cup, and it's probably all going to happen.
I do think you could see some players like a Noah Cobb in Open Cup. I think you could see a David Mejia, Jonathan Vichal. I think there's a few different guys like that you could see blend in to an Open Cup team. Depending on the draw, depending on where the team is at that point, depending where the injury situation is, you can call up a USL or Atlanta United 2 contracted player for the Open Cup. So they have to be contracted, though. You can't call up an academy player. So you couldn't call up Brendan Lamb, for example. He's not
Darwin or Robbie.
You could call them up. You could call up Aiden McFadden. You could call up those players.
That's a really good shout. Either one of those would be the ones that would be at the top of my mind of guys if I'm calling up.
Yeah,
who've done really well.
It depends on where you are at that point. I mean, it's way too early to call.
Oh, yeah.
But you're not looking to play a full second team here, but I think you would like to rotate a few people in to supplement a team, and that would be really interesting. So,
Thomas, that's the Gordie Howe hat trick for Dom. Would be to get a goal assist hat. Yeah,
I could buy that.
Yeah,
that'd be the Dom Dwyer hat trick. Let's get it right.
That's true.
Yeah. Show some respect.
Yes.
That's also the Tati Castellanos hat trick.
Yeah. Oh no, Tati would be proud of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, create your own version of the soccer version of the Gordie Howe hat trick, and yes, I think we'd just call it the Dom.
It would be the Dom, and I hope he gets one of those. I would be very happy to see him get that. We'll see what happens this weekend. Gonzalo Pineda speaking to the media later today, so we'll get updates on quite a few different things. I mean, I'm sure a bunch of people are going to be waiting to see if there is an update on Joseph Martinez, what that looks like. We don't know yet. Luis Araujo listed as out for this game. Could there have been a change? I mean, sure, anything can happen. Probably not likely. Emerson Heineman listed as questionable. Is he going to possibly play for Atlanta United 2 on Saturday night or make the trip to Charlotte? The Atlanta United 2 lineup will give you some hints as to Charlotte as well. Somebody like Jackson Conway. I think if he's not starting in the MLS match on Sunday, he should be starting on Saturday. I just want to see him get minutes. Those are the things I think we're looking for out of Gonzalo Pineda later today, and he'll be speaking to the media, so you'll get all the tweets and quotes, and that'll be posted up later in the day. Usually those go up late in the afternoon on Atlanta United's YouTube page. Anything else you're looking for out of Gonzalo and his media availability later, Jarrett?
Yeah, honestly, just updates. Kind of get an idea who's available, who's not, and yeah, I'm sure we'll get questions about. This is kind of round 2 with Charlotte. They're both teams kind of in similar yet different places. Atlanta's still trying to get healthy, and Charlotte is trying to rebound after their first experience with Jim Curtin. So it should actually be I think it'll be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be an easy game. I think it will be one that you got to control it. You got to keep control of it. And I really think that's going to be done on the flanks. I think that's where Atlanta can exploit Charlotte's deficiencies. But how does Miguel Angel Ramirez try to protect that after what he saw in 90 minutes against Atlanta United? That's where the chess match comes in.
And here comes another chess match of, does he have another card up his sleeve? Because we saw him change things up in the second half against Atlanta United last time. Does he change it up in a similar way this time? Gonzalo Pineda's looked at that, and the staff has looked at that. And they've seen kind of how he went against the grain with making changes. Does he do that again? What else does he have up his sleeve to try and wrest control of the game away? Because I think if it's straight up, Atlanta's more likely to control the game.
Yes. I think, the questions, if I'm Miguel Angel Ramirez coming into this, is how can I protect the wings? How can I deal with that? Because that was an issue for him. He had to make those changes at halftime, went with Armour and Awful as wingers who are fullbacks playing winger. It prevented Atlanta from building up out of the back pretty well. But does he play Christian Fuchs as a left back? That's the one that I keep coming back to that I don't think he does. And then is it Mora and then is Fuchs a center back? Or does he do what Ramirez did early in the season where he protected Fuchs by playing him as part of a 3 center back alignment to where he's got a little more cover and he can step out. He can kind of try to affect the game in that half, but he's not going to be isolated as much because we saw Atlanta really isolate Fuchs and create 1v1s against him all day. And I thought they just wore him down and Mulroney beats him at the end. That's maybe the number one thing I'm looking for out of Miguel Angel Ramirez is where he puts Christian Fuchs and how he tries to protect him because he's got to have him on the field, but where is the question and what he's got around him. So we'll just have to wait and see. Last one from you, Jared.
And can Atlanta isolate Swiderski?
Yeah.
I don't know if they put him up there with somebody and give him someone to run with who he can work with. But can you get Miles or George or Alan Franco to kind of get him left on an island where he's has been shown to be not as dangerous with early returns?
We will talk to somebody with a little bit of experience in how you can deal with forwards like that here in just a second. Jarrett, we'll see you in about an hour for our MLS preview. Buying stuff, Jarrett.
Buying stuff. Wow.
One day he'll learn how to actually walk off gracefully. Friday free kick. Michael Parkhurst joining the show. How are you, Michael?
Morning, gents. I'm great, thanks. How are you guys?
Doing good. We had a packed show with our friends from the Argentine consulate last night. So John and I are a little tired, but we're doing okay.
I did see that on social media. Awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Santiago Sosa is learning English very quickly, I've learned. It's pretty cool to see.
That is great. It's always good when those guys learn English as quick as possible.
Yeah. Let's get into kind of where it finished with Jarrett. We're talking about things to look for in this game with Atlanta and Charlotte. And he brought up Swiderski. And we've talked to Will Pelagic and Jessica Charman from the Charlotte broadcast team. And I agree with both of them. I think Swiderski has looked best when he's had a running buddy. And they've played that 4-4-2 with Daniel Rios. And that's where they won their 2 games. When you're dealing with a forward like Swiderski, that if you can isolate him, you can kind of take away some of that effectiveness from him. How do you in a back line deal with a guy like that?
You stick Miles on him.
just straight up.
Miles for cheers.
It solves problems pretty easily. Yeah, no, I mean, he's been on fire. It's been impressive. I know Charlotte was in a little trouble for not sending him to the national team. It was kind of a weird thing right there. I don't know what happened there. But that aside, I mean, he's done really well and it's been impressive. So he's definitely somebody that we're going to have to keep an eye on. And I would expect them to play 2 up top. I know that they played 5 in the back last game, but it was an away game. And, I think at home, they'll probably go a little more offensive and try and play those 2 guys up top together. But, hopefully, we have a strong defensive performance and those guys are ready for it.
So how does the rotation work this time around? If let's say that's the plan, you got Miles dealing with Swiderski. He likes to drop. He likes to kind of drop into that midfield and combine a little bit. If Rios is there, you still got to deal with him. And you don't have Osvaldo Alonso now. And it's going to be likely Sosa in that 6 role. Are you kind of where do you decide to pass him off when he drops into the midfield?
Yeah, that's always a tough decision, right? That those in between spaces. That's why it's so difficult for center backs, right? Because when you're looking at it on the outside, and when a guy gets that ball and turns, and you're like, why didn't the center back step with him? But then you see some center backs step with guys, and then all of a sudden you see a winger running in behind, or it just causes a big gap in the back sometimes that's not filled. And that's why defenders are really wary of leaving that space, because it can happen very quickly, especially if your outside backs aren't aware that you're stepping up. So yeah, that's always a challenge. But if Swiderski's got a running partner up there like Rios, then you're less likely to go into the space with him. You're more likely to pass him off to Sosa, whoever's back there, Rossetto. If he's up there alone, then you've got way more freedom. But also if you're in a 3 versus a 4, little situations change things about how aggressive you can be. But the communication becomes really important. So it's good that Sosa's learning some English.
Yes.
Well, and that was the word, Michael, that I wrote down was communication, and I put an exclamation point behind it as you and Jason were talking there. I mean, yes, these are the kinds of challenges that as a defender, you relish and you live for these kinds of match days, but the communication among everyone on that back line, this is one of those, when you have that number one target, communication is key, obviously that, and if he's got running partners. When you're working in a match week and you're in practice and you're getting ready in game state, and I know that this is an evolving thing, Can you break down the idea of communication among everyone at the back to make sure that the assignments are what they're supposed to be, and what that process is like for folks that are watching, but they may not necessarily understand what's going on with the X's and O's? Can you break down the idea of communication and how important it is for situations like we're going to see this weekend?
Yeah, it is important, right? Because you're going to play in front of a big crowd. And so you're not, you can't always rely on that the guy's going to be able to hear you, if he's 20 yards away. And, that's why somebody like Jeff Lorenos was so valuable for us when I was playing at Atlanta United, because we had that communication where you didn't have to talk, right? He's so aware of things. And that's, the thing that Ozzy's so good at, right? It's easy to look in front of you and see who's there, who do I have to go get, right? But having that awareness of like, oh, I need to fill this space because there might be a striker that's, checking into these spots that I need to handle, right? And it's understanding that, especially when a team's playing with 2 strikers, it changes things. The D mid has to be way more wary of helping out in the back. And there's probably less guys in the midfield anyways. So he should be aware of that. But that's where that experience from Sosa will hopefully help. But the week leading up, you have the second team train with 2 forwards and having one guy check in and create those overloads here and there, and who steps and who covers, and so you do try and create those situations in training, the week leading up, so those guys can get used to those situations that might not occur as often, if you're playing against a team with 1 striker that stays up top more often.
It's always a problem when you have the injuries that Atlanta United's dealing with coming off of that DC game where you lose Alonso. You're going to lose Sosatu for at least a little bit of time, but you do have this time to prepare. And one of the questions, you kind of mentioned it, would Gonzalo Pineda potentially look at going back to 3 center backs with George Campbell in that mix to provide that extra layer of security with Alonso out and with Sosa kind of getting back to full fitness? I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think so too. The team's comfortable in that spot. You put Miles back there, and it helps out, makes everyone more comfortable, obviously. It would be interesting to see if we were in a 3 and they have 2 up top, how that works out, because that takes some adjustment and some, it's not as clear cut as it is when a team only has 1 striker up top and your other center backs can go to wingers and slide and those types of things. But if a team's playing with 2 up top, it's a lot different about who's got the responsibility and how do you cover those things and who's got the wingers and all these types of things. So that would be my one kind of like, do we? If they expect to play 2 up top, I'd be surprised if we went to a 3. But there's advantages for us too, right? If we're in a 3 and they have 2 up top, it provides us with some opportunities there offensively. So, if you're thinking, hey, we want to put them on the back foot and take control of this game, then you don't care and you just do what's best for us.
I love getting your perspective on that because different coaches will go different ways with it. Marcelo Bielsa would always go with 1 more center back than forwards for the opposition. If they're going to play 2, he would play 3 at all times. And, what's more comfortable for you, playing 2 center backs against 2 forwards or having that free man that, whether it's defined or not, is kind of cleaning things up as a sweeper behind it?
Yeah, it's crazy because playing under Tata changed things a lot for me, watching things and learning things, on the defensive side of things, I loved having the 3v2, right? It's just set in stone. Like you 3 have these 2 guys, you've got an extra guy to help cover for anyone that needs cover. And it's just like, okay, understand your responsibilities. But, when you're able to go 1-on-1 for at least certain parts of the games, it opens up opportunities for you to press higher up the field, to get more transition moments, to be a little bit more offensive. And that took some time for me to understand under Tata because it was a lot of that. But you really do see some of the benefits sometimes, and opens up different things out on the field tactically that aren't there if you're just always having that extra guy back.
It's that balance of risk, right?
It is.
When you get the challenge of having to be in somebody's hip pocket for an entire 90 minutes, obviously it's a challenge that you as a defender, you relish because the coach sits there and has that trust in you that, I know that you can handle this guy. I have the faith that you can handle this guy for a full 90 minutes. When was the first time that coach instilled that trust in you, and how did you do with that assignment? Do you remember?
Man, that's a tough one. When I first turned pro, we played 3 in the back, but that was a time when everyone was playing 2 strikers up top. There was very little 4-3-3 or anything. Everyone was playing 4-4-2, 3-5-2. That was just, there wasn't that much variability tactically. So when I played with the national team, it was 4 in the back. And, anytime you're in 4 in the back, you're going to have moments of one-on-ones, areas where you're one-on-one where for 4 seconds, 5 seconds, and can you handle those opportunities? But really playing under Tata was the first time where I was on an island in a 3-back and the other team's got a center striker and my 2 other center backs are with wingers, 20 yards on either side of me, where it's like, hey, okay, you got this guy and you've got this half of the field to cover it. And so that's why I talk about how big of an adjustment it was to play under Tata. Having somebody like Miles affords that freedom. He's a lockdown guy. And I know that I'm glad he had the success with the national team because, he had a couple un-Miles like performances leading into the national team camp. And hopefully those games gave him the confidence back.
Yeah, he looked good in DC. Another player who I thought looked good, and I was on radio with Jeff on the game in DC, and I asked him after the game, I'm like, who do you want to give man of the match to? No hesitation, George Campbell.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with George defensively. In possession, okay, had a couple of mistakes, had a couple of giveaways, but defensively, he was locking everything down. Jeff was super impressed with him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's been very impressive all season long.
Yeah.
He really has. He's really grown and matured, and you see that he's seeing things out on the field, reading some situations. Yeah, I would advise him not to dribble in the first 10 seconds of the game. But yeah, he's been composed on the ball, and that's what you want, right? There's some risk when you say, hey, have some composure as a center back, find these passes, right? It comes with risk. There's going to be mistakes. It's part of it. But he's done really, really well. It's been really impressive because I don't think anybody had the expectation that, he would be as good as he has been this early in his career. So I'd have complete confidence playing him right now.
That's what gets so interesting with this group, because you can go 3 with Campbell, and I get the sense that Gonzalo completely trusts him, has no problem with him playing there. Played him as a 6 in Colorado when you lost Ozzy at the last minute. You've got that in your back pocket if you want to use him in that kind of a role. And I think the next step, as we talk about how Atlanta is going to defend Charlotte, is you are going to get Lennon and Gutman as high up the field as possible against Charlotte. You want to exploit them on the flanks in a big way. And that's going to create more of those islands defensively, but can create some great opportunities going forward, especially how well Brooks has played this year.
Definitely. And that's what we talk about with the numbers situation, right? And how you want to approach it tactically. If you say, hey, we play 3 in the back and you two lock, 3 out of the 2 of you lock up the strikers, we got to have a good chance to win the game, right? If we lock up the 2 strikers, they're not getting a ton of goals elsewhere. Bender's been impressive. He's been good. Yes. So you have to keep an eye on him. But I mean, if you say, hey, we're not going to let Swiderski score, we're not going to let him and Rios really do much. You like your chances of getting something from the game. So, in that aspect, it kind of frees up those wingers to say, hey, I'm going to have more freedom to go forward and not having to worry about those two strikers, and that could lead to opportunities for us on the offensive side of the ball.
We've talked about it here in this conversation this morning. There have been a lot of different names that we've discussed here that could be integral to the success for Atlanta United, and countering that with the injuries that are coming through right now and all of the injury discussions that we're having. The fact that we can address the depth that has been assembled here and sit there and say, okay, well, there's an injury to Ozzy, but Santi is now getting back to full song, and that substitution is there, meaning that Santi gets back into the lineup as we'd originally anticipated. And with other injuries, you're looking to fill the holes. You're waiting for Luis Araujo to come back, but you've got Thiago Almada here as a part of the discussion offensively as well. I think it speaks to how well the front office and Gonzalo Pineda have assembled this group to where you have this depth, and we can mention all of these different guys, even if injuries are a part of this. I think it speaks well that Atlanta United has assembled what they've assembled with everything still going on around them, Michael.
For sure. And we knew that was going to be super important, right? The last couple of years have been a little bit disappointing. We haven't had the firepower. We haven't had the depth that we've needed to be, one of the top teams. And obviously they've addressed that. And thankfully, right? And that's why you do it, because, these moments hit every club. Sometimes you get a little less fortunate. And, this is going to be a struggle right now to fill these gaps of Joseph, Rossetto, Ozzy, these are key players, and hopefully that's the end of it. But you never know. And, obviously Luis already, but that's why we say in the beginning of the season, it takes everybody, right? Because you never know when your number is going to be called. You never know how often it's going to be called. And you can't win games you can't win titles if you can't be reliant upon guys number 15, 16, 17, 18 on the roster, right? You need those guys to play games, to play minutes, and to play well, to take advantage of their opportunity. And, that's why Campbell's been so impressive in what he's done.
You're going to have to turn to one of those numbers up top in this one with Correct. Joseph, needing a break at least after the discomfort in his knee, and hopefully we'll get an update later today on how things are looking. But you've added Ronaldo Cisneros. He's got a week of training under his belt. He's been playing in Mexico. You've got Dom Dwyer, who's been here for not quite the whole preseason, but at least a little bit of it. And you've got Jackson Conway, who's been there from the beginning and has gotten some minutes. One of them's going to have to go up top. I can't imagine there's any kind of creative false nine or something here. And I would assume this has been a pretty intense week of training to make that decision.
Yeah, for sure. Right. It's a big one. Obviously, we're still reliant on Joseph and his goal scoring ability. So yeah, you have to replace that somehow. I would assume it'd be Dom.
I guess too.
I don't know how well Ronaldo has come in, and there's always off the field things that need to get sorted out. So, but you never know. I'd rather see Dom up there than try and play Moreno as a false nine or something and play other guys underneath him. Dom can score goals in this league and has already this season. So I'd give him the opportunity. But yeah, it's a big one for him, right? This is why he came to Atlanta. He wanted this opportunity. He knew he wasn't going to be the main guy start, and Joseph plays almost every game, all game when he's healthy. So these are the opportunities he came here for. And if he wants to, continue his career, he's got to take advantage of these opportunities. So, and I think he knows that. So it's a big moment for him. So I hope that he gets it, and I hope he takes it.
When you're talking to younger players and you're talking about next man up, when you're talking about opportunities, what are the big talking points that you're trying to get across? What are you trying to emphasize to younger players when they might have to have a situation like this where, oh, it's my turn? What are those conversations like when you're talking to younger players in situations like that?
Yeah, I think number one is just mentally being prepared, right? To know that these opportunities can come at any time, right? And so, it's tough, right? There's different aspects to it, right? You might be disappointed that you're not part of the team, or you're not playing, or you might be coming back from an injury, or it might be, up from the academy or the second team and not expecting to play, right? But the mindset has got to be like, I might play, or I'm ready to play, and in any position. And so it's knowing those responsibilities and being ready for that opportunity, and having the confidence that when you are given this opportunity, that you're ready to take it, right? And you're only going to have that confidence if you feel like you've put in the training, that you've been taking care of your body on and off the field, that you've prepared, and if you've done those things and you feel confident, you feel prepared, then it's just going out there and knowing that it's tough, right? In sports, you only get a few opportunities to make these first impressions and to take advantage of these opportunities. And it's cutthroat. If you don't take it, then, you get less chances. And, you have to take advantage of opportunities when they come. And if you don't, then you don't know how many more you'll get in the future. So that's the cutthroat reality of it. But, that's where some careers are made, in taking advantage of those opportunities.
We've seen that with the national team this time around. I mean, first it was kind of Miles jumping in when Brooks had some struggles, and Miles became the number one guy. And then Walker Zimmerman, who wasn't even in a team at one point, and then ends up captaining the team in that group when he's added to the roster. It feels like if anybody has made the most of opportunities with the national team, it's been Zimmerman in this last campaign.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, you're right. He wasn't even in the roster. And now I think, if the World Cup was tomorrow, he's starting.
He's my number one guy, I think. He's been that good.
He might even be the captain.
Absolutely.
If you don't want to make Christian the captain, or Tyler Adams, then, he might be the captain as well. So yeah, he's vital. But yeah, it's taking advantage of those opportunities and being prepared and ready for it, and not being afraid of it. And credit to him for doing that, because it's not always easy, but it can be career changing for sure.
How you feeling about the World Cup draw?
Good, excited. It's awesome that we're playing England. I mean, the storylines and the media attention surrounding that game is fun. They're just so snobby over there about their so it adds a little extra emphasis. It would be so much sweeter to even draw or obviously beat them. So, and then, I think the other two games are winnable, which is all you can ask for.
What other groups kind of showed up for you as like, oh, that's an interesting one? What were some of the other parts of the draw that attracted your attention as it was working its way through?
God, there was one group I'm trying to remember right now where I was like, oh man.
The last group with Portugal and Uruguay, and I can't remember who the third one is. It's not maybe the top teams, but it feels like a wide open group.
Korea and Ghana.
South Korea.
Yeah, that is a really difficult group. You're right. That is, Korea's tough to play. Uruguay is very good. Ghana's, that is a terrible group. I having played in Denmark and I know the coach there really well of the national team, I was excited for their draw. They took France, but I think the other two matchups in their group, Tunisia, and then they've got a playoff team. I was happy for that because I want them to do well. I thought Canada got a tough draw. It's a sneaky group. It's Croatia. Yeah. You don't think of as like a top team, but they're always good. And the African teams, like they're in with Morocco. You just never know. I mean, but then again, they can't be happy. I always said that whoever gets Canada, coming out of pot 4 is not going to be happy.
Yeah.
Because they're for us and Mexico to be in pot 2 and them to be in pot 4. Man, that's a tough draw for those groups getting Canada because they're better than a pot 4 team.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the U.S. got the best draw of the CONCACAF teams. I think Mexico's in a tough one too. I think to have Poland come out of that third pot in that group with Lewandowski, that's not who you want to see in a World Cup game.
Yep, I totally agree. I can't remember what pot the playoff winner Costa Rica could possibly be in.
They're in E with Spain, Germany, Japan.
That's brutal.
Ooh.
Yeah, for sure. We got the best draw of CONCACAF.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the U.S. should go through. I think Mexico's a bit of a toss-up. Canada's got a long road, and Costa Rica. I mean, Keylor Navas is going to have to wear the Superman cape in every game.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, he did in qualifying, so
he did.
He's capable of doing it. But yeah, I mean, they've had the experience of making a deep run in the World Cup before. I know it's a while ago. I don't know how many of those players are still involved, but so you never know. But yeah, that's a tough one.
I want to finish with this one with you, Michael. The Open Cup draw is coming up later today. Atlanta could get all lower division teams at all different levels. You got South Georgia Tormenta. You've got Chattanooga FC, who they've seen in a preseason game before. You got Birmingham, who they've seen in preseason games multiple times. How hard is it to go into those games where you're facing a lower division team in a tournament that Gonzalo Pineda's already, set down the marker? He wants to win it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. I think it's better as a team if the expectation is known going in, and it's not like, oh, we'll just see how the first couple rounds go, and then if we're still in, we'll see if we can win it. Versus like, okay, we want to win this. We're taking it seriously, no matter who's playing. Like we need to win here, and and the expectation is we're going to at least the final. But those games are always so challenging. They're, especially if they're away. These other guys it's the opportunity of their lifetime, right? To play against Atlanta United and maybe impress, maybe get their name out there, write history for their own club. The fields aren't as good as the MLS fields, everything we talk about with CCL is sort of similar. Mm-hmm. That's not an excuse. I mean, Atlanta United should definitely get by whoever out of those three that they get. But especially if you get Chattanooga or Birmingham, it's not going to be easy. You can't go out there and roll out an academy team and expect to win. And even if you roll out the first team, that's where like the motivation comes in, and how bad these guys want it, how seriously do you take it? Because obviously you've got one eye of like, oh, God, I don't want to be too tired and I don't want to get an injury because my bonuses, my success, our team success is more of MLS rather than Open Cup. But at the same time, if you're not committed, that's how you lose those games.
Yeah, it's a tricky balancing act. At least there's not CONCACAF to balance as well this time around. So got to deal with it coming up here at the end of the month when Atlanta goes into round 3. How are things going with Beyond Goals?
Great. Really good. We started working with Atlanta United Academy, which is awesome. Working with some individuals there. So that's been great. We've got a nonprofit side of things up and running now, which is awesome. So yeah, things are cruising along. We're getting a bigger outreach now. So exciting times.
When are we getting you down here in Atlanta anytime soon?
I have to be down for a Soccer in the Streets with Beyond Goals event at the end of the month. Unfortunately, there's no Atlanta United game, that home game that weekend. But end of the month, I'll be down there for that event. And then I don't know, from there, I'll definitely be down in the summer at least once or twice to hopefully catch a couple games.
Very cool. Well, Michael, man, thanks for the time. As always, thanks for all the great insight, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Awesome. Enjoy the game this weekend, guys.
Thanks. Michael Parkhurst. Make sure you're following him, MF Parkhurst, on social media and beyondgoalsmentoring.org, BG Mentoring on Twitter, and Beyond Goals Mentoring on Instagram. The partnership with Atlanta United's Academy is huge. That's always one of the challenging things for a club. You can have the coaching methodology, you can have all of the plans with how you want to develop players. The mental side of it is so important. And to have two guys like Michael and Greg who have been there and done that and had a lot of different experiences in their career, to be able to share that with these young aspiring professionals, whether they end up making it as pros, whether they go to college and then come back as pros, or whether they go to college and then just go into the game and go into their lives, to have guys like Michael and Greg kind of guiding them and mentoring them. It's so vital. I love that partnership. I knew they'd been working on it, and I'm really happy that it has come to fruition. All right, before we get Mike Conti on, John, you have to tell us about our good friends Eliminize, and you are going to do that with a new music bed.
Okay.
It's not the same one that I played twice that you didn't remember. It's a completely different style.
All right.
Very, very different.
Okay.
We'll see how you handle a much more up-tempo Eliminize, Reed. Go for it.
Eliminize Service. Proud sponsors of everything here at SDH. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, there's one place you need to go. It's Eliminize Service. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors, to help them sell or rent those facilities that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind to the environment. And we like that these days. We like green ways to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. It's different than our favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, because those masking agents, all they do, take care of the odors. They don't attack the problem. Eliminize Service does exactly that, all the way down to the molecule, destroying odors with their proven scientific formula. Pricing easy, one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results 24 hours or less. If you have any other questions about Eliminize Service, go to their website, eliminize.com. But do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are talking to them from. So the website, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
I'm going to have to get like a DJ mixer one of these days so I can like crossfade you and stuff.
Oh, and it was great to see our friends from Eliminize last night out at Elsewhere Brewing as well. Great to see them as well.
Yes, always. Eliminize, great partners of everything we are doing. We don't get to do what we do if we don't have Eliminize backing us up, and we don't get to do all the live shows that we do without Kaiser Permanente and all of their support. So great night last night. Let's hear more about Atlanta and Charlotte coming up right now. Mike Conti, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Who do you want out of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup draw? You want Birmingham, you want Chattanooga, or you want Tormenta?
Well, I'd like to know if we're doing the game. I don't know if we are. If we were, I would have one answer. If we were not, I'd probably have another.
Why would you have different answers? I don't understand.
Because I have no idea what the broadcast setup is at Tormenta.
We'll figure that out.
I think Chattanooga we could probably pull off. I know Birmingham we can pull off because
Chattanooga for sure. I know we would do Chattanooga.
Honestly, Chattanooga. I think just for something different, Tormenta would be cool. I still kind of have the dream that we could get a friendly at Tormenta in the MLS preseason where they could try to do something maybe at Georgia Southern's football stadium for a bigger crowd.
There you go.
Chattanooga, I think, just makes a ton of sense from an accessibility standpoint. Really, really easy to get to.
I think Tormenta is actually the furthest drive.
Yeah, I know. Believe it or not, right? That's crazy. Now, then again, I mean, there is another very, very key element in play. Whether or not we're doing the game, it doesn't really matter. You pass a Buc-ee's when you go to Birmingham.
True.
You pass a Buc-ee's when you go to Chattanooga. Now,
yes,
you do not pass a Buc-ee's when you go to Tormenta.
That is true. Because you had you'd have to go out of your way to go to Warner Robins and then work your way.
I love Buc-ee's. I don't know if I love it that much because that would add probably
if we were to
get solid hour.
If we were to get Buc-ee's to sponsor our U.S. Open Cup coverage,
oh man,
I'd go out of the way.
Yeah.
I'd
getting sponsors is not the issue. It's the television rights holder and whether or not they're going to let us do it.
I know. I did see that there was at least one radio call of games in the second round.
Well, that's good. There is another element in play too. There could be Hawks playoff games. So, I mean, we're just going to have to kind of fly by the seat of our pants on it.
We'll figure it out. I'm not worried about us. We'll figure it out. We'll be there one way or another.
But, I mean, as far as who I want to play, obviously, I mean, you'd rather, no disrespect, but you'd probably rather play Tormenta or Chattanooga just because they're one step lower on the ladder.
But they just beat USL championship teams to get here. So I don't know if there's a huge separation. I mean, I think Birmingham roster on paper, it's a better roster. It's a good roster. I think it's a roster that can compete in USL championship. It hasn't quite come together yet. But maybe getting the win in the Open Cup over in Tuscaloosa against Southern States, maybe that's the thing that kind of kickstarts them.
You brought in Agudelo too.
Yeah, you've added Juan Agudelo now, so you've added even more talent to what was already there. Chattanooga beat up Memphis pretty good last night, and Tormenta controlled the game against Charleston. I mean, it was a 1-0 win, but Tormenta owned that game. Yeah. So none of them are easy.
I don't want to demean Tormenta. I just don't know how good Charleston is.
Charleston also had a lot of injuries too.
They did.
7 or 8 guys that they would normally have around out for Connor Case.
I think Tormenta's put a really good group together. It's the best group they've ever had.
Yep.
I think their roster by far has upgraded from previous ones with a lot more experience at higher levels. So, I mean, none of them are going to be easy matchups no matter what the level. This is
right.
There's some potholes in this group for Atlanta United.
Jason, help me out. Are they bracketing after this, or will it be another redraw?
There's another redraw because you have the other 8 MLS teams to come in. So they'll regroup geographically, and I think there might even be one more regrouping going into the round of 16, and that's when they bracket.
All right, because, I mean, that obviously comes into play, too, when you ask me who you want to play, because I want to see which bracket I'm drawn into. I would assume, based on the way you've described it, that it's a pretty safe bet that Charlotte or a Florida MLS team or Nashville could be in the offing in the next regrouping.
It could be.
So, I guess that.
Yeah, it doesn't affect anything with this one. It's just, I mean, you just got to get through and see. You'll have 2 teams out of Florida who get through because you've got 2 MLS and 2 lower division. Their 2 USL championship. I mean, you could get Orlando, Tampa, which
that'd be great.
Yeah,
and you could get Inter Miami and the Miami FC, which like I hope that's the draw they get. And I don't know who comes out on either side.
Yeah, I agree.
Charlotte could get Greenville, which would be really interesting.
That would be fun. Yeah,
you know?
That's kind of the fun thing about the Open Cup. And,
Yeah.
you know, I see some comments on the Twitch pitch about how it's a good thing to help grow the game when you have the MLS teams going to lower division stadiums. I agree with that.
I don't want to force it. I mean, it's come up that, you know, in some countries they do. In some countries, they make the higher division team go to the lower division team, obviously assuming that they can host it, because not all of the facilities are up to the standards. And that's something that lower division teams have to continually look to improve to be able to host these games. But I like it if you can host, you're in a blind draw, and it's a blind draw, because I think it's good for them either way. If Birmingham comes here, if Chattanooga comes here, if Tormenta comes here, it's big. If Atlanta United goes there, it's massive.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
you know, I want to see this competition grow in importance. I think that the next steps for me, I want to see, you know, maybe one more round of it. I do like that the MLS teams come in the round that they do now, as opposed to coming in later. There's more competition for games with lower division. Maybe one more round of teams who get into the tournament but are kind of playing their way in from local qualifiers, as opposed to NPSL, you know, USL League 2. And I want to see US Soccer get serious about getting a title sponsor on it, because I think you get a title sponsor on it, then you've got more prize money to put to it. And then when there's money on the line, importance ramps up.
Yeah, totally agree. Hopefully, you know, getting the tournament back for the first time in 3 years and getting it on solid footing. And hopefully, you know, you do end up playing some matches in later rounds that really, really draw well.
Yeah.
You know, I thought really the 2019 tournament was an opportunity for U.S. Soccer to really reap the benefits of, look, you had 40,000 people at your final. You had an exclusive TV thing with ESPN Plus, which actually I thought from an accessibility standpoint wasn't the best thing in the world, but at least you had exclusivity, and every game was televised. So like, you were in position. The pandemic came at such a bad time, because I think you were really in position to build off what you had in 2019. And now, you know, unfortunately, you kind of have to push that back a couple of years. But, you know, what you hope for this year is that you have big clubs who are going to be there at the end, and you can have really good crowds for your quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals.
We'll find out at noon who Atlanta United's playing later this month in the Open Cup. We'll find out on Sunday if Charlotte has learned a few things from Atlanta's win last time out. We talked to Michael Parkhurst just a little bit ago about possibilities here and how this goes. I feel like this is really a big-time chess match between Gonzalo Pineda and Miguel Angel Ramirez, because they've both got a lot of different lineup and tactical possibilities, and you're guessing as to what the other one is going to do to make your decision. So it gets really interesting on Sunday.
Yeah, it really does. And I do wonder if Atlanta United changes formation for this match, either out of necessity due to injury or out of, oh, hey, going to a back three in DC really kind of worked. Now, obviously, Charlotte's a much different opponent that I think will play with different intent than DC. I think, as we said a couple weeks ago, two teams who really want to play and are going to want to go out and entertain, and that's great. But I do wonder, as Pineda kind of assesses who's available and who's not, if he thinks to maybe going to a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1. And it's not so much the attacking group that I think dictates the decision. I think it's more the midfield that dictates that decision. Is Sosa 90 minutes ready? I think he is. Did he tell you guys last night? Did you ask him?
We didn't ask him. We talked about a lot of other things. We had a good long conversation with Santi. He's understanding English really well.
Yeah.
He understood me most of the time.
Aren't they? Yeah. Isn't he in that group that's taking lessons?
Yeah. And he's one who I think is maybe the star student. If he could understand the questions I was asking him in a crowded room, I was
going to say, if you could understand the questions I was asking in a crowded room.
Well, none of us always understand the questions you're asking, John. We do our best. Santi nodded and smiled. He did what he was supposed to do.
True. Absolutely.
Yeah, but he didn't tell you.
No, we did not ask if he was 90 minutes fit.
All right, I'm going to assume he is.
I think he is. He said he was a couple weeks ago. I don't think anything's changed.
But you have Alonso and Josetu out of the mix. You do have Ibarra coming in. I wonder about Ibarra and the 90-minute
I don't think
time limit on him. You don't think it's an issue?
No, I don't think he starts.
Okay.
I think you're probably looking in any kind of permutation at something like Sosa and Sejdic. If you're in a 4-3-3, I mean, I think really what the question is, it's not so much the injuries in the midfield, because we've seen Amar Sejdic plenty this year. He's trusted. He's fine. He can play any of the midfield roles you need. I think the question is, do you want to play George Campbell, or do you want to leave him out for this one? Because if you want to play him, you're going to probably play three center backs. Going up against two forwards, that could work. That's what a lot of teams will do. It's not always the way, but it's a good way. And Campbell's been really good. Mm-hmm. So, do you want to get him in? If you do that, then it's probably Campbell, Miles on either side of Franco in the middle between the two, because you want Campbell and Miles to be able to go and step forward. You've got Gutman and Lennon as your wing backs on the left and the right. That's 5. You got Sosa as the 6. Then you're looking at 4 players in the attack, or an extra midfielder in that group. It could be something like Sejdic, Moreno, Almada, and Dwyer. It could be that, like you said, 3-4-2-1 kind of situation. You could set that up where instead of a 3-4-3 with Moreno and Almada wide, it might be like a box midfield, because they want to play, and Charlotte is going to try to pack that midfield as well. If you play Sosa, Sejdic with Almada and Moreno in front, but with Almada and Moreno total freedom to go flare out wide, to go to the middle, to drop a little bit, you can outplay Charlotte in that part of the field if you go that way. And that lineup would work. But you could also go 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 with Sosa, Sejdic, and Moreno, and have Mulroney wide, or have Tyler Wolff wide, who we've seen a lot this season. So there's a lot of different possibilities, and it's really down to who Pineda's comfortable with, what he thinks Charlotte's going to do, and what he's trying to exploit in Charlotte. I think he's trying to exploit the wings. I think it's probably 4-3-3, and I think it's probably Tyler Wolff back in the starting lineup.
Well, I know he rates Wolff quite a bit, and I know the reason why Wolff didn't start last week was because he played during the international break, and they just wanted to manage workload. Yep. So that is absolutely plausible. That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
You get Wolff and Almada up high pressing. I like that.
Yeah, and Wolff did start against Charlotte 3 weeks ago, didn't he? Off the top of my head. So, yeah, that's a really good shout. I could absolutely see that.
I think it's 4-3-3 with Moreno as a 10 in a free roll, and with Almada and Wolff on either side of Dwyer, who should be the incumbent. We'll see if he gets it. Cisneros and Conway are going to be pushing him. But I think if you get Wolff and Almada in those positions and you ask them to break up the build-up play from Charlotte, because we know they want to play, they want to build out of the back, that gives you a weapon against it. And we know Wolff is great in that. And I thought Almada off the ball defensively in DC was very good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. But, here's the other thing. I thought Campbell was very good at DC.
He was. He was our man of the match.
Yeah.
He made one mistake that I don't necessarily think was his fault going back and rewatching. I think he was pressed into a odd spot, and he put the ball out over the end line from 45 yards away.
Brad, right.
But he was played into a kind of tight spot.
Yeah.
He bailed Alan Franco out of a big mistake earlier in the half. So, they might be looking at this as an opportunity to get Campbell another start. And then the question becomes, do you start him at center back or do you start him in the midfield? And I think, again, to your point, Jason, he could start in the midfield.
He could. It's possible.
Yeah, I think, again, if Sosa can give you 90, it's less necessary.
Right.
But we don't know. So, yeah, we'll see. And then I think the other thing, too, is, like you said earlier, I don't think we know exactly how Charlotte's going to approach this from a selection standpoint either, because Miguel Angel Ramirez gets another option on the table. And look, I know what they have said publicly about Jozwiak, but he's rostered, and I wouldn't be shocked if he were available. for this match on Sunday. Would not be shocked. And if he is, then what do you do?
I don't think he starts. I don't see any way he starts. I could absolutely see him playing, but I don't think he starts.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see.
I think with Charlotte, where I keep going back to is how they protect or don't protect, if they are feeling adventurous, Christian Fuchs.
Right. Yeah.
I really think it comes down to Fuchs because he's that kind of player that I feel like they have to have on the field. But you saw against Atlanta last time, you can't have him as a left back against Atlanta. They're going to just go at him. If it's Almada, if it's Almada as a winger, and let's say Fuchs starts as a left back in a 4-3-3 for them, like he did last time against Atlanta.
Right.
If Almada was going to be on the left and Wolf was going to be on the right, like Almada's eyes will light up. Pineda will be screaming for them to switch.
Mm-hmm.
And Atlanta will play the ball to Thiago Almada every chance they get to run at Christian Fuchs because it's just there's a pace issue. I mean, he's 36.
Yep.
You can't, if you have him in that position, you're going to run at him consistently. And then Brooks Lennon's going to join the party, and you're going to create those 2v1s and wear him down. If Ramirez says, okay, I can't play him there, I've seen him at center back here in a line of 4. He's not a natural center back either, where they've been able to protect him, but it limits their ability to get forward is in a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 if they keep Rios and Swiderski up top. And that could work. Then Fuchs is a left center back. He's got Joseph Mora as a left wing back to help protect, but then Mora's got to stay at home more, and it just makes it hard for you to get forward, and Atlanta can break up your build-up play. That's where I think Ramirez, Mike, has to kind of figure out, like, all right, there's 2 or 3 different ways that I'm going to get poisoned here.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to find the way that's going to let me live the longest.
Yeah.
He's just got to find what can give him the most, to where maybe in the 70th minute, you throw on the Polish winger and he's your wild card. You know, maybe that's what you're trying to do, is kind of hang around. They're not going to be defensive. They're not going to be, negative, but they're going to struggle depending on how this could go. And I really think the Christian Fuchs conundrum for Charlotte is going to define their season.
Yeah. And, on top of all of that, now you have Anton Walks getting healthy. So that takes away a spot where you could potentially move him into a center back position, because I think Ramirez and Charlotte's front office, Bobby Belair, now their technical director, which, by the way, congratulations to him. Mm-hmm. They probably envision Anton Walks locking down one of those center back spots right now.
Mike, I'm not so sure that
they started him in the Philadelphia match,
and they pulled him at halftime.
And they did, but did they pull him for form, or did they pull him because it was his first start and they were trying to manage his workload?
I don't think they pulled him because at 45 because of workload. I think this is where, when you build a roster that doesn't all fit together, you get yourself into trouble. And that's where they're in, because they don't have wingers, but now you've got a left back who has to play as a center back because you can't leave him out on an island against a fast team anyway. There's some teams you could play him as a left back. You've got Guzman Corujo, who I think is a leader on that back line and has to play. You've got Christian McCoon, who is a Venezuelan national team center back and has been good.
Looks like he might be out. Looks like he might be out, by the way, for Sunday.
That would open the door for Walks. I don't know if Walks is the first choice for them because of McCoon and because of Corujo and because of the need to protect Fuchs. I think Walks might be a little bit of the odd man out unless you have injury issues, and then he gets an opportunity. And then he's got to stake his claim to it and keep it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Because when they selected Walks in the expansion draft, I thought, well, Charlotte got their captain.
And then they went and added a bunch of other things and didn't add other things.
Yeah, no, right. No,
it's
that way.
It almost feels like they should have, and maybe they shouldn't have gone to get some other pieces. because you went and you got Anton Walks and he could be your captain. You could build around it, but you had Christian Fuchs, who was already going to be your captain. And maybe they went for the pick out of spite a little bit, as opposed to the pick of, I don't know, another wide player that was available in the expansion draft that might have actually given them the ability to play with wingers.
Yeah, but they had a chance to take a player from Atlanta.
It's a weird thing. And when you start playing the choose your own adventure game, I loved those, by the way, as a kid. Those were great. Those books. Especially the sports ones, those were really good. So Miguel Angel Ramirez opens up the choose your own adventure game for Sunday. He opens up the book with the Atlanta United logo on the front. There's not many of them that end well. There's definitely issues no matter which direction he goes. If it's 3-5-2, if it's 4-3-3, if it's 3-4-3, if it's 4-4-2, any of them, there are deficiencies that I think Atlanta can exploit. And I guess where I'm at with Gonzalo Pineda is, do you take a guess as to what you think he's going to do? And there's some definite educated guesses you can take. Or do you put a lineup out there that has a lot of flexibility built into it, like we've seen, and move pieces around once you see where they put their chess pieces?
Yeah. I also always come back to the Atlanta United club mantra that Atlanta United wants their opponent to react to what they're doing and not the other way around.
Yeah, I get that. And I understand that. But I think that is much more of it is a mantra. And I think it's much more of we're going to attack you. Yeah. We're not going to tell you how we're going to attack you, but we're going to attack you. We're not going to sit back and defend and soak up pressure. I think that's the mantra. How you do it is the interesting thing. You can't put on blinders and say, like, I don't care what the other team's going to do and how they play. You have to have that here, and you have to figure out, okay, where can I attack them? But I think against Charlotte, you kind of know that's going to be wide. Yeah. And I think you're going to try to get Thiago Almada, Marcelino Moreno, maybe Jake Mulroney from the start again. Such a good 1v1 player. You're going to try to get them in situations where they can win their battles. And if they win their battles, Atlanta wins.
Yeah, and I'm starting Mulroney if I'm Pineda, if I am confident that he will be matched up on Fuchs, because we know what happened the last time that matchup existed.
That's the other variant. Is it could be Mulroney starting, not Wolf. It could be, there's again a bunch of different ways you can play it. Even with the injuries, even with the Joseph situation up top, Gonzalo Pineda has a lot of flexibility in what he could deploy in this game in Charlotte on Sunday.
There is another option, too, that I learned from your show last night. All this angst, and I've seen some questions on the Twitch pitch. Do we know what's going on with Joseph? Has there been any update? No, but honestly, I think no news is good news. I really do believe that when it comes to Joseph. Let's start Sosa at center forward. I had no idea you played that.
Well, I think it's been since he was 10, Mike.
Well, Brad Guzan was
still ingrained in you, right, though?
Brad Guzan was a box-to-box 8 when he was in high school, wasn't he?
I really don't want to see that one.
I think it'd be hilarious to see it like in an all-star game or something like that. But
I wouldn't mind seeing Brad's giant frame up top at some point. That would be funny.
But now this brings up the question. Because I think we've always had our mythical penalty sheet for Atlanta United. And I don't know, by the way, but I would assume that the AmFam Cup is probably going to be decided by penalties if it's even after 90 minutes.
Got to see who lifts that trophy, right?
Yeah. Sosa might be in the top 5 now with the knowledge that he was a center forward.
I think he would have been. I mean, even with that amazing disclosure that was delivered live on SDH, I think he would have been in there anyway for me. I think if he's on the pitch in a shootout situation, he's taking one for me. I like his composure. I've never really seen him look scared in a match. Yeah. So he would be one that I'd hand him the ball.
Yeah, you want your unflappable players.
Yes. Yeah.
Stepping up to the spot. And Sosa is one of the least flappable Atlanta United players, I believe.
I like that. We are going to be on Star 94 on Sunday.
We are, yeah. So 1 o'clock, and that's because the Hawks game got moved into an afternoon window on Sunday. So you're right, Jason. We'll be on Star. And, of course, the Odyssey app. So, if you stream us, and according to what I've been told, many of you did this past weekend, so thank you for that. But we'll be on Star 94. 1 o'clock will be the pregame show. 1:30 will be the kickoff. And it is a road game, but we'll do a full 1 hour full-time report afterwards because we're doing plane, trains, and automobiles to get up there. Between Jason and myself and Miller Pope, I think we're all going a different way at a different time. But we'll be able to do a full post-match show afterwards on Sunday.
It's not – I don't know if it's 100% locked in, but you can leave Star 94 on after the full-time report. I have submitted selections for music.
Okay.
For a post-game playlist.
Okay. Does it depend if it's a win or a loss?
No.
Is it going to be a lot of Sarah McLachlan if it's a loss?
No.
She's not Charlotte, sir.
I'm not going
full 5 or any of that stuff.
They've had some up-tempo songs. I'm not
honestly. Star doesn't play anything that's not up-tempo, so I don't think we have to worry about
it. It is a party post-game playlist, and we'll see what ends up making the final cut, but. It was actually a joke on Twitter when we did the Stoppage Time show, and Star, thank you, shared that and shared it for their listeners to be able to listen to. And I'm like, hey, we would have made you a playlist if we had known, and they wanted a playlist. So
it's funny, I was on a Charlotte podcast yesterday, and they were asking me about, when you beat a team, you play the music from that city on your post-game show. So if Charlotte beats Atlanta, what should be the Atlanta music? And I said, it feels to me like right now among ATLians, it feels to me right now that Outkast is regarded the most fondly and would probably be at the top of that list.
Yeah.
If you were to pick one Atlanta artist, but obviously that's up for debate. And I said, look, that So Def billboard was such a landmark in this city for a long time. So I feel like you would have to work in Jermaine Dupri or Ludacris or, someone from that label. But then, you could go the country route. You could get Zach Brown involved. So many country artists.
You can go Black Crowes. You can go Collective Soul. You've got
really even REM. I think Atlanta can claim REM.
Peter Buck's from Marietta. He was born in Marietta, so you can claim it.
Okay. And then, you have the Georgia theme songs like Midnight Train to Georgia and Georgia on My Mind. And all
Little Feet.
That would be such an easy one. Like in our role, when we get into these situations, there's plenty of markets that it's super easy to come up with the full-time report music. There are some that it is very difficult to. And then there's some that there's been so many wins over the years that you're running out of songs to play. Yes, I'm looking at you, Orlando.
That's true. We're literally out of Orlando music.
We're going to have to start 2-3 deep. We're going to have to go to B-sides from
Central Florida.
But you're right. There are places where it's pretty easy. Like obviously Nashville, super easy.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, super easy because you can dip into the Prince.
Tank forever.
You can go Prince. You can go Soul Asylum. You can go Replacements. I
think we played Wonderwall before. For obvious reasons.
You can do that as well.
Yeah.
Or the Champagne Supernova variant.
Yeah.
When you play the Southern California teams, kind of easy. But Badger Mom just brought up a really, really great point. Like RSL, that is a tough one.
It was a little tricky.
Yeah. RSL is tough.
That's a little tricky. I think, you can go with Rancid because of the connections with them and their chant and Rancid's drummer. So that's one. And then I'd have to do some digging. Oh, no. I remember the one I played because Doc Sock loved it. Donny Osmond. True.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely true.
Pulled out some Donny Osmond, Soldier of Love, and Doc Sock was rocking out driving down the road listening to it.
Well, we also haven't beaten RSL since 2018. Haven't played them since 2019, but have not beaten them since 2018. I guess we have a chance this year, but RSL is a tricky one. Colorado is surprisingly a tricky one.
Samples?
I mean, yeah, we've done that. I think we've played
John breaking out the samples as the first Colorado artist.
Well,
to think
honestly, to John's defense, it's not that easy. Like, I think we've played South Park music before after Colorado matches.
Yeah.
I think we did John Denver, who was not actually from Colorado.
You've got, but you can play, because remember, it's not always just the artist from that place. It can be a song about that place. And you've got Rocky Mountain Way by Joe Walsh, which we played last time around, I think. You've got, Rocky Mountain High. I mean, you've got so many of those songs, you can make it work. Columbus is maybe the most difficult.
Columbus is tough. Because there's only so many little Bow Wow songs we can play.
Yes.
True.
Yeah. I think
and then,
played all of them.
You have the McCoys, you have the Ohio Players. Like, you could do so. But as far
You've
as
got,
modern
I think
Columbus,
21 Pilots is from Columbus.
Yeah, that can only get you so far.
You can get one. They've got a few. I don't think we've played all their main ones yet.
There's a few that are tricky. Charlotte was not easy. I mean, we had to kind of
work a little
more of a North Carolina song catalog than the city of Charlotte, if I recall.
I think that was by desire, though, to play Petey Pablo more than
no, it wasn't Petey Pablo's, but like, didn't we have to do the Avett Brothers because
from Charlotte? We played the Avett Brothers, and we played Randy Travis, who's from just outside of Charlotte. Okay. So we didn't have to go too far. But Petey Pablo, we're playing Petey Pablo. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get to play him on Sunday. I don't know. I think it's going to be an entertaining match. I get the feeling Charlotte might have a result in them.
Possible.
But
it is.
We'll see. I mean, I think it's going to be a really competitive match. Charlotte's improved a lot since the last time we saw. I really think their turnaround started when Adam Armour scored that goal in Atlanta, and then that was the springboard for them. I don't dwell too much on the Philly match. I think Atlanta would go into Philly and struggle, quite frankly, right now, just because Philly's very comfortable playing that style at home.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be a tough one. I really, really do. And if Atlanta gets out of there with 3 points on Sunday, I'll be thrilled.
However it comes, I don't care. 3 points is 3 points, and we'll see if Atlanta can get it. And you guys can listen on Star 94. You can watch on ABC and ESPN Deportes as well. Mike, I'll see you in Charlotte.
All right, guys. See you.
Be good.
Make sure you're following him, Mike Conti 929.
Just going to let it play out.
You guys know by now what that music means?
Mm-hmm. I would like to point out as well that Philip Bailey is from Denver, Colorado, so you could get away with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah, no, I do that for some.
And Easy Lover with Phil Collins.
What? What, John?
If you could do Philip Bailey, you could do what was it, Easy Lover with Phil Collins?
John, now listen. You need to know how this game is played, first off. You're going to a sideman for a solo act to try to pull a song. That feels like the reach of all reaches. It's not Phil Collins and so-and-so's. It's just Phil Collins.
One of the reasons this works so well, especially in the early days, is because you had Oren behind the board a lot of times, who has probably forgotten more about random music than I'll ever know.
Hi, Jarrett. My name's Jason. You remember I worked in music retail and DJ'd for many years.
Well, yeah, we know that, but having another person who can supplement that made it really easy. I figured that part was obvious. I didn't think that needed to be put out, but yeah, okay, there, fine, we'll do that. Jason's also forgotten. Jason's also forgotten more than most of us will ever know. Having another person who can pull that off is a very nice bonus, especially in the early days when we were watching all of this unfold, trying to figure out what songs were going to get played.
Yeah. Oren would overlap with me in some areas, but then Oren would have like deep knowledge in some, and I'd have deep knowledge in some, and it was fun. That was kind of where the idea started, was from the two of us in late 2017 starting to do that on having that conversation about things and using it when we were just starting to do bits of post-game shows. And then we just kicked it into a whole nother gear in 2018, and it has stuck ever since. So,
well, the Discord has switched full into trying to figure out who needs to go to what place. Like Old Crow Medicine Show, if they need to be associated with Carolina or Nashville,
they don't have to be one. No, they don't have to be one. Now you cannot do, because look, I'm going to claim this game. Okay, first off, so I'm going to claim the rules of the game.
That's fine.
What John tried to do with a sideman for a solo act, no, that doesn't work. But if it is a band or a group situation like the Isley Brothers, Cincinnati applies for them. If it's a group and one of the members is from a place, that's usually lower on the priority list if the band is not associated with that place, but one of the members is from that place. If you're reaching, yes, I'm looking at you, Columbus, Ohio, then you have to maybe go down that road. But generally, you're looking at where the artist, if it's a solo, was born or where they got their start. Janelle Monáe comes up in this because Janelle, when Kansas City comes up, is perfect because Janelle is known for being an Atlanta artist, but she was born in Kansas City. So, boom, that's like an automatic play. That's going to happen every time.
I understand that one.
So, there are rules to this. John doesn't create the rules. Jarrett doesn't create the rules. Dylan, our producer, he's learning every time when I mention an artist. He's like, who's that? So, we're increasing Dylan's musical knowledge every week when there's a win. So, that's a good thing why there's wins. But no, it's been a fun, like, silly thing where I get to throw music into the mix, and you know how I am with music and going deep into the bag on stuff and getting to talk about it a little bit. So that's why it was pretty cool when Star 94 reached out, and they do 10 in a rows on the weekends. And I love their music mix now, by the way, because it's all like 80s, 90s, current, it's pop, it's R&B, it's hip hop, it's all across the board. It's broader than that, which is really cool. Like they'll throw some things from like the 80s and 90s, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that on like a CHR kind of station, a pop station. They'll get a little creative with it. It's a good mix. So I got to kind of put my Star 94 hat on and pick a group of songs, and some World Cup related songs as well. So we will see what makes the cut and how that ends up coming together. Hopefully that happens for Sunday. If it doesn't, we'll probably try to do it another time.
And Badgermon says if you play the Ohio State fight song, he's going to turn off the radio. That gives me an idea, though. Instead of doing that, if you beat Columbus, play the Michigan fight song. Make them.
Oh. Team from up north.
No, you're both fired. All right. We are here.
That took me like 6 minutes to get fired today. That's a good. I'm getting better.
You are
getting sharper.
Better. Well, we'll see how you make it through the MLS weekend preview. And it starts on Saturday at 1:00. Orlando City hosting the Chicago Fire. Orlando is inexplicably a favorite, plus 115. Chicago plus 250. Draw plus 230. You come into this, Chicago's unbeaten on the season. Chicago has not trailed in a match all season long. They are being thoroughly disrespected by the Juicebox purveyors. Orlando comes in after a loss to LAFC. Last time these teams played, it was a scoreless draw early this season in Chicago. Okay. Then last year, 2 games, Orlando 1-1, Chicago 1-1. This one's in Orlando. Jarrett, what are you picking?
Give me the draw on this one. I actually do want to trust Orlando because I make bad choices in life. Until somebody actually beats Chicago and scores goals on them, I think they've given up one all year.
Yep.
I'm going to stick draw on the road for Chicago, which is not a bad life to live for them.
John, what you got?
Same. And since obviously we don't have an update on the Shaqiri injury either, one less offensive piece that was there to try to get you goals, and you're not giving up any, so I don't think you're going to score any either, so I'll go draw.
Chicago wins on the road. I don't care if they have Shaqiri or not. They win. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
I like the number. All right. 3:00. Enter Miami hosting the reeling New England Revolution. They are the road favorite, plus 125. Miami's plus 200. Draw plus 260. Miami's got 1 point on the season. That was in the first week. It was a draw. They've lost 4 in a row. New England's right behind them. They got 4 points. They've lost 3 in a row. What does Bruce Arena do here, John?
I think he gets the win, and parlaying that into the segment that follows this one, I've got both Bo and Heel playing fantasy this week, and I've got the starting.
Stop crossing the streams, John. Your fantasy team does not affect the outcome of this game.
No, but what I'm saying is that my confidence in the Revs is also relayed in my fantasy team with my 3 selections maxed out with the Revolution. I think that the Revs get it done.
Stay in the segment. When you get to the fantasy segment, then you could say, as you heard previously on
As you heard previously.
Here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on.
But the Revs are a better club. They just are.
That's the statement of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Jarrett, what you got?
Revs. I mean, this is a cure what ails you sort of situation, and Miami has been what cures a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Until Miami shows otherwise, you got to pick against them, even in Fort Lauderdale. Red Bulls hosting Montreal at 4:00. Red Bulls big favorites at Red Bull Arena, minus 154. Montreal plus 400. Draw plus 300. Red Bulls are on 10 points, 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. Montreal 2 straight unbeaten. The draw against Atlanta, the crazy drunk stupid win over Cincinnati 4-3. History with these two recently with Gerhard Struber and with Wilfred Nancy in charge. Red Bulls won at home last year 1-0. Montreal won at Stade Saputo 2-1. Both were late in the season too, August and October. Red Bulls won the game against Montreal October 30th. I think that was before the couple days before Atlanta went up there. So these games have been tight. I feel like this is not a game that would be lopsided either way. Do you believe in Montreal enough to pick them, Jarrett?
Montreal's given up 10 goals in the last 3 games. No, Red Bulls outright.
John?
Red Bulls outright. I think that Coronel and that's going to frustrate Montreal's shots on target. So I've got to go with Red Bulls.
I'm going with a draw. I don't think the Red Bulls are going to really try to exploit some of the things that Montreal can do or can give up. And I think Montreal is a team that can deal with the press. I think they cancel each other out to a degree. I think it's kind of like I'll go 1-1 on it, but I'm going to go draw. I've been high on Montreal from the beginning. I'm still high on them, even with their record. I think they're better than their record. I do think CCL took something out of them. I'm betting on them to start getting it right. I might be a little ahead of the curve. We're going to find out. Next one, 6:00, Philadelphia hosting Columbus in Demolition Derby. Oh, sorry, MLS Soccer at Chester, PA. Philadelphia minus 105, Columbus plus 280. Hi, Rich Ransom. Draw plus 240. Recent matches between these two. Philadelphia won in October 3-0 in Chester. They won 1-0 in Chester in June, and they drew scoreless in Columbus in April. What do you got, John?
I think that this is not going to be one of the most eye-catching matches. I can't wait for Caleb Porter's soundbite again at halftime, but I think that Philadelphia takes it probably 1-0.
Jarrett?
I'm sorry. I'm John didn't pick a draw, so
I know.
I'm thinking I need a minute. Philadelphia, and Caleb Porter cuts a promo at halftime. Again, this one has to get redacted on air though because of language.
I'll help pay the fine, Caleb, if you want to go down that road. I think Philadelphia wins. I don't think like I talked about Montreal, I think Montreal can deal with the pressure a little bit more from the Red Bulls. I feel like they're a little more even keeled. I don't know if Columbus can. I think Lucas Zelarayan is on the ground more than he's on 2 feet. And that's not going to work for Columbus because it's just a different edge. Philadelphia is better at playing that way. Columbus isn't good enough to deal with it. I think Philadelphia wins.
Yep.
All right. El Tráfico. LA Galaxy hosting LAFC. Don't want to offend anybody by not liking the name this time around. So El Tráfico, El Tráfico, El Tráfico. The Galaxy
okay,
plus 155. I hate the stupid name, Jarrett. 155 for the Galaxy, 160 for LAFC. Draw 260. It is a total toss-up. It is the first time that Chicharito and Carlos Vela are facing off in Major League Soccer. Who is happy at the end, or are they both kind of sad or possibly content? Is it a draw? What do you think, Jared?
I think it is a pretty fun game, but the scoreline will be tame. Give me the Galaxy and Chicharito's continued ascent and attempt to claim a spot with Mexico's national team before the World Cup.
I need the full tabloid explanation on why that's not going on, because I think it is a tabloid explanation. John, what you got?
I'm going to go with LAFC, and I'm also going to take the parlay. So I'll take the over and LAFC.
Why are you taking the over in LAFC?
I just think it's going to be wacky, crazy early, and they're going to set a pace to clear the total. So I think that Vela gets his, Chicho Arango gets his. I think Chicharito gets his as well. I think it's going to be wacky, crazy fun.
You do understand, John, that LAFC has conceded 4 goals in 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
And you do understand that the LA Galaxy have conceded 5 goals in 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
Those are called good defenses.
I'm aware.
But wacky fun time!
Wacky fun time on the I-5. Pistols in the air and everything. Because
why? I'm waiting for the because I'm not seeing it yet.
Because why? Traditionally, when you have rivalry games, and both of the teams going in are sound defensively, it ends up going the other way.
There's still no because. That's like the worst because ever.
It's fine. It's fine.
So when but no, you have 2 good defensive teams, but when both teams are good defensively, then they become
in a rivalry game, you want to try to assert your offensive prowess, and so I think there's going to be a lot of wild back and forth, and I think it's going to be over the total.
Jarrett, was there a because in there? Did I miss it? Okay, that's what I thought it was. I am going to go with the John Nelson special of a draw because
you're going to go 2-1 with the Velvet Driving Slipper Lock of the Week.
Stop trying to change the narrative, John. You pick a draw every other game. I'm going with a draw because I think these are 2 good defensive teams, also 2 good attacking teams, and I think they cancel each other out. I think Chicharito and Vela both get on the board, and I'll go 1-1 in this one. I do think it'll be an entertaining one. Good test for Steve Cherundolo, who's been great so far. All right, 8 o'clock, Real Salt Lake hosting Toronto in Utah, minus 137 for RSL, plus 333 for Toronto, draw plus 320. Toronto's got back-to-back wins. RSL, after winning 3 in a row to start, loss and a draw. Okay, maybe 2 teams heading in different directions. They have not played since 2019, and these teams look very different than they did in 2019. But Toronto, 2 straight 2-1 wins. And I think the storyline about Toronto is what they did against NYC, where they did something that, Jarrett, we talked about early on the season on this show. You don't have fullbacks. Stop making wingers play fullback. Make them play wingback. You get half of the winger in a wingback as opposed to a fullback. So you played 3 center backs. You played a 3-4-3, and Alejandro Pozuelo was brilliant. Jonathan Osorio was brilliant, and they beat a pretty full-strength NYC team. I think Toronto is not what they were before, and they're going to be a much more difficult challenge here. But what do you think?
I think when we talk about them beating NYC, we have to remember that Pro completely fumbled the process. It doesn't take away from the performance that Toronto had. Don't get me wrong. But if we talk about the 3 points being the thing that you're going to hang your hat on, Pro had their say in that. The performance was still good. Those are 2 separate things. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to feel about either one of these teams, so I'm going to take a draw because I'm still kind of side-eyeing both of them. If Toronto wants to continue doing what they did, cool. That's not a bad idea. if they if RSL gets a little squirrely, they can be problematic, as they showed to the Revs a couple weeks ago. Give me the draw on this. Should be a fun game.
John, go ahead and pick a draw.
I was going to pick RSL to win, actually.
Really?
Yeah, RSL unbeaten at home this year, and I know that they've only played twice. But RSL traditionally a very tough place to play at Rio Tinto, so I'm going to go with RSL, even though they're on the minus side.
Toronto wins on the road.
Okay. You like that number at plus 325, huh?
I like the number, and I like what Bradley did. I think that's the way to play. I think it works for them. It protects Salcedo. It protects the wingers / fullbacks / wingbacks, and it puts your game winners in positions to win games. I think Toronto goes out there and surprises RSL and gets a win. I think they do. We will see. 8:30, Sporting Kansas City hosting Nashville. Nashville still on the road a little while longer before they open up their new stadium. SKC plus 145, Nashville plus 210, draw plus 210. That number's a lot lower in Nashville games than it usually is for other games. John, what you got?
Oh, I'm going to go with Nashville.
You're afraid to pick draws now. I love it.
No,
you're out of your comfort zone now that you've been called out.
No, I just think that there are too many problems right now offensively with Sporting, and I think that Nashville finds a way. It won't be the most high-scoring game in the world, probably 1-0, something like that. Mukhtar gets one, and I still think that Sporting gets handcuffed. So I'm going to go with Nashville on the road at north of plus 200.
Are you trying to provoke the ire of Peter Vermes?
I think anything can provoke the ire of Peter Vermes, and I think his own team's play has done that already so far this season. It's already there. I don't think it needs to be provoked.
That's a dangerous place to be if you're Nashville. Jarrett, what you got?
Nashville. To John's point, yeah. If no one's gonna, you're forgiven if you have serious questions about what Sporting Kansas City is right now at this point in the season, and a team that is struggling to create chances and put them away, playing against a team that is happy to sit back, wait for you to make a mistake in your build-up play and then pop you on the counter, is a recipe for a 1-goal loss.
I think Nashville is generally a recipe for a draw, and I'm going to go with that here. So many games on the road, it wears you down. Mm-hmm. They did get a win last time out after declining performances for 3 in a row. I just don't know if they can keep up the level with all these road games. I think Nashville's going to be a team to watch at the end. Don't worry about that. They're going to be just fine. But Sporting Kansas City, I think, keeps it tight. I think Gary Smith is okay if you get into a situation where, look, a draw is what's on the board, go for the draw. I kind of think that's what happens here. I don't think it will be the most entertaining game. I think it will. Caleb Porter would echo that as well. I'm going draw.
Playing their system is a great soundbite.
Yes. Dallas hosting Colorado, 8:30 in Frisco. Dallas is a plus 110. Colorado plus 275. Draw plus 230. Colorado unbeaten in 4 back-to-back draws. Dallas unbeaten in 3, coming in after a draw. Jarrett, what you got?
Man, give me Dallas. I'm on the Dallas train.
Dallas train's a fun one. Colorado did beat them last 2 times they played handily, 3-0 and 2-0. That was 2021 Dallas, though. This is 2022 Dallas.
I'm still taking Dallas.
I'm just checking. I'm making sure.
That doesn't change. Dallas is fun right now. Dallas has a fun striker again. They got rid of the other one and they got a new one. Dallas has a lot of shiny, fun toys.
Mm-hmm.
I think they moved a guy into the position because Jesus Ferreira was there before.
Yeah,
they got a new shiny
playing
wing.
The position.
Yes,
they did get a. Let's take a moment to hey, welcome to the party, Dallas. Alan Velasco's getting kicked a lot. He's getting fouled a lot, and he's not allowed to play. Oh, welcome to the party. It must suck.
Yeah,
that golly jeepers, gee willikers, that must suck to have a skill player getting kicked all over the field.
Yeah, Marcelino Moreno says hi.
Mm-hmm.
Ezequiel Barco's still getting kicked in Argentina as we speak.
Barco would like to reemphasize that as well.
He just gets kicked everywhere. It's just open season on kicking the boat show. John, what you got?
I like Fun Dallas, so I'm going to go with Dallas here. Alan Velasco with a brace.
Were you trying to make a Friends reference?
Okay. No, because Fun Bobby was depressing. So, no, I'm going to go with Fun Dallas.
I'm just checking. I got Dallas to win, too. Colorado has righted the ship, though. This is not Colorado was bad early in the season. Colorado's not going to win this. I think Dallas is a team to watch in the West. I think they're a playoff team. Maybe not a top-tier playoff team, but I think they're a playoff team. And at home, I think they beat the Rapids. Houston Dynamo versus the San Jose Earthquakes, battling for the rights to the San Jose Clash name. Remember, the original Quakes moved to Houston, and they won a bunch of stuff, and then the Quakes came back, and then Houston kind of lost their mojo after a couple more MLS Cups, and the new Quakes, they had the Goonie spirit there for a while with Alan Gordon and Steven Linhart, and they were beating people up, and there's the Bash Brothers and Wando running around being a lunatic. Right now, they're just generally running around like lunatics. I don't know if they're actually being effective lunatics. And Houston at home is competent. They did get a win on the road last time out, though. The first time in like 543 games or something. But at home, the Dynamo are a minus 125. The Quakes are a plus 333. The draw is plus 275. The Quakes are yet to win this season. They have 2 draws. Houston, 2 wins, 2 draws, 8 points. Jarrett, your Quakes, you get the honors.
Don't go play games in Houston. Even in a bad year, you don't go play games in Houston. That's where Houston. That's where Houston becomes a functioning team. And now I think they might be more than that, but they're still a functioning home team. Taking Houston to this one, we're just kind of circling the event horizon for San Jose until we get to the point where Matias Almeida takes his leave.
When he takes the Chile job, which is the latest rumor when it comes to Matias Almeida.
Man, Matias, God bless you for the effort you put in there, for bringing your fun brand, for giving me some of the most entertaining MLS After Dark games I have seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. But you're circling the event horizon. Just go ahead and cross the damn thing and move on, and San Jose can figure out whatever the hell they're going to do next. Houston wins.
Go take the Chile job. Yeah. What you got, John?
I'm going to go with Houston here as well.
I'm going to make it 3 out of 3. I'm going the Dynamo here, too. Let's go out to Cascadia. 10 o'clock kick on the East Coast. Vancouver hosting Portland. Almost a toss-up game. The Whitecaps are the favorite, plus 145. Portland, plus 175. Draw, plus 260. Whitecaps coming in after their first win of the season. Portland with a loss last time out to the Galaxy, a draw to Orlando before that. Neither team lighting it up these days. Last year in matchups, Vancouver went to Portland late and got a win, 3-2 in October. In Vancouver, Portland got the win in September, and then early in the season in April, Vancouver got the win, but that was pre-coaching change. So last 2 times out, the road team has won this one. John, does that happen again?
No, I don't think so. It's 3 matches in a row that Portland has had a right back leave with red card. And I see too many problems at the back. I think that Vancouver sneaks this one out. I think they get a win at home.
You're so afraid to pick a draw now that you've been called out. It's so funny. Jarrett, what you got?
Draw.
That's what I got. I think it's a draw. I think it's 2 teams that aren't very good right now, frankly. And I don't think either one has enough to stake a claim to this one.
I want to ask the question of, hey, is it time for Gio to kind of reboot this thing out there in Portland? Because they're very long in the tooth. But every time I think to ask that question, or every time I do ask that question, they go and rattle off wins and do something crazy like make MLS Cup.
There's that. I don't think that happens this year. I do think it is time. And honestly, I thought it was time last year, and it probably still should have been time.
Yeah.
But they went on a run and got to MLS Cup. They can't let that fake them out and not start the rebuild process, whether with Gio or moving on to somebody else. It's still time to do it. And the longer you don't, the more suffering you're going to have. And Vancouver, look, they really haven't progressed from the second half of last season. So I think it's a draw. I think it's two teams right now. Last game of the weekend, Austin hosting Minnesota, 7:30 on Sunday. Austin, a big favorite here, plus 100. Minnesota, plus 260. Draw, plus 260. John, what you got?
I think you're going to hear Stevie Ray Vaughan going through the PA system at Q2 at the end of the night, because Austin is not the same team that they were last year. I think Austin gets the win.
You know, Austin hasn't won in 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Minnesota in that same time frame's got 2 wins, right?
Good for Minnesota. Good for Adrian Heath.
So Austin's not the same team, but they haven't won in their last 3 games.
Correct.
I'm waiting for a because.
But that was the because.
No, that wasn't a because that would actually lead you to think that Austin's not going to win, but you picked Austin to win.
Minnesota on the road going into Q2, which is an entirely different environment. I think Austin gets this one.
You know, Minnesota has a win on the road this season, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to find something here. Austin at home is very good. They have not lost at home. There's your because, John.
Okay.
They have won 2 and they have drawn 1 at home. You're going Austin to win.
Mm-hmm. That's my because why. Yes.
Jarrett, what you got?
Austin at home. Austin plays well at home. And who wants to guess the high temperature in the afternoon Sunday?
It's a 7:30, so I guess it'd be what, a 6:30 local time?
All right, so let's see what
the high is 91.
Oh,
it's still going to be warm.
There's your because. Again, John, there's another.
It's still going to be mighty warm in Austin. And I'll take Austin at home. I am a believer in Austin. Not saying that doesn't mean I believe that Austin is going to win MLS Cup. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But they're fun. I enjoy watching them. They've played well at home. Even in the games they've lost on the road, I thought they have they've shown themselves pretty well. So it doesn't mean they're going to blow anyone out of the water, but this is the perfect congregation of a team I like and believe in Austin, and a team that I have zero faith in Minnesota.
Now I'm with you on the lack of faith in Minnesota. I'm not questioning that. I do not have the same faith in Austin that you guys do. I don't. I haven't to begin the season. They started good. I still haven't found that complete faith. They drew with San Jose. Talk about something that will shake your faith in a team. You draw with Jared Smith's San Jose Earthquakes.
Yeah.
But
yeah, high of 91, Jared. You're right on.
I don't like Minnesota here a lot either. Minnesota's won the last 2 times they've played. It is a little bit better, Austin. I cannot take Minnesota. I can't take Austin, so I've got to take the draw. I'm going to go draw here. Well, that's a lot of draws this week. I feel like there's a lot of even matchups this week in MLS. There's not a lot of... There's a few easy picks, I feel like, and of course those will be wrong. I feel like there's a lot of very even matchups around the league, and Seattle and NYC are off for the week. Those games have been pushed back to later in the season. They have been given time off to get ready for the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions League next week. Okay, moving into the fantasy portion of the MLS preview. Ryan Walker dropped this yesterday. Make sure you're following him, ATL Ryan Walked. And thank you to the Jason Wright Agency, who sponsors our Soccer Down Here Fantasy League and sponsors Ryan's work on the social medias for your suggestions when it comes to fantasy. Locks on the goalkeeper defensive side. Brad Knighton for New England at Miami. No Matt Turner yet. He's a $5.2 million player. He's only owned by 3%. They're playing Miami. Mm-hmm. That is a pretty good lock right there. Consider Brooks Lennon, $7.1 million at Charlotte, 8% owned. I think you should do more than consider that one. I think Brooks is a really good pick. He is consistently creating chances. He's consistently putting the ball into dangerous spots. Yes, people have to get on the end of it. Yes, they have to create that. But he is that mix of a defender who can help you with clean sheets. And yes, Atlanta got one last week. They could get another one here. But he can also get forward and get you assists and maybe even pop up a free kick goal for you. I think Brooks would be one to absolutely consider strongly. And then your value pick is Rodrigo Schlegel, $4.4 million versus Chicago. He's only 2% owned. And the reason why you're looking at this for Orlando is Antonio Carlos is out for a long time for Orlando City. I think 12 to 16 weeks is the prognosis on his injury. Schlegel should jump into the lineup. They've been a good defensive team, a better defensive team than I give them credit for. They've got 3 clean sheets on the year. You can bet on Chicago struggling offensively because Shaqiri could be out here. $4.4 million for Schlegel. That's a worthy value consideration. A little bit of a gamble because I'm not high on Orlando. If you are and you're not high on Chicago, that's a pretty good pick. That could be a scoreless draw. That could be one of those like locks on the attacking side. Carlos Heel, $12.2 million at Miami, 26% owned. Who cares? It's at Miami. It's Carlos Heel. He's angry. He needs to produce some things. This feels like a kind of obvious one. When you're looking at those kinds of guys, and Lucas Zelarayan would be in the category too. Lucas has been great this season in fantasy. He's got to go to Philly. Carlos Heel goes to Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. You're rolling with Carlos Heel. Consider Lewis Morgan, $10.6 million valuation, playing Montreal at home for the Red Bulls. He did not do well last time. He had an opportunity and did not put it away. Only 3 points last week. Montreal did give up 3 goals to Cincinnati. There could be goals in this one. I think you have to throw some of that out when you're talking about the Red Bulls and just what they do and where goals come from. It's not typical. So I don't know if the Cincinnati game affects Montreal as much. Amaya is out. And this is a really good point from Ryan. With Frankie Amaya out, Lewis Morgan will probably be taking the set pieces. That could give him some assist opportunities, especially from corners with the Red Bulls. So 5% owned, Lewis Morgan, definitely one to consider. And in the value pick is Marcelino Moreno, Mr. Clutch, $8 million. Charlotte is the opponent, 5% owned. I mean, at $8 million, Marcelino Moreno and what he's done this year, that's a steal. And I'm shocked he's only owned by 5%. And with, the injuries and with the absences for Atlanta United, maybe a little more of an opportunity for Marcelino to find goals and produce himself. Mm-hmm. So that feels like a giant duh to me in this one. I think he's going to have those 1v1 opportunities, and I think he can take advantage of them in Charlotte. I think Marcelino Moreno could be the player who decides this one for Atlanta United. If he has a big day, I love Atlanta's chances. I don't see how they don't win if Marcelino Moreno gets on the board. I just don't see it because I think it's not just he gets on the board one time and that's all he does. He's going to draw 4 to 6 fouls. He's going to get people in yellow card trouble. He's going to create opportunities on the dribble, whether he wins the dribbling duels or Charlotte drops off of him because they don't want to get posterized. Like he's going to affect the game. And if he gets on the board, I think it's an Atlanta United win. That would be my flow chart in this one. Marcelino Moreno goal, follow the arrows, Atlanta United win. But 5% owned, yeah, it feels like a good one. Jarrett, you got anybody you're looking at in fantasy this week? Any matchups, any players individually that jump out to you?
Off the top of my head, no. I think that pretty much covered anyone who would have popped into my head.
I think you can look at New England in Miami for sure. You could go a few different directions.
New England would be the obvious one of if you're looking for a layup, New England just throwing the shark in the koi pond.
Buxa feels like a possible here. Gustavo Bo's out for them. So, yeah, I can definitely see Heel picking up some of that. But you could look some other directions as well with New England. I mean, maybe a Sebastian Lletget kind of a day. That's possible. Philadelphia defensively, I think that's always a pretty safe pick. You can look at their back line. Nathan Harriel's been one of the best players in the league so far this season. Is it translating to fantasy points? Not always, but I think he's got that potential. If you are on the over side of things with the El Trafico, you could be looking at a lot of goals there. So you could be looking at the attackers for LAFC and LA Galaxy. But you do have to remember these are two good defensive teams, so you might want to be careful with that. There's not, like I said about picks, I feel like there's a lot of even matchups. There's not a lot of games that you jump out and say, ooh, this team's going to have a clear advantage. I'm going to load up on players from that team. You want a wild card? Look at Dallas against Colorado. Dallas,
I was going to say
home.
Velasco.
Yeah. Velasco, Ferreira, Areola.
Mm-hmm.
You could go a few different directions from Dallas players. John, what about you?
I had the high-priced folks from Philly on defense. I've got Glesnes and Elliott as a part of it. I have Knighton and Heel from New England with Buxa. And I did have Marcelino Moreno. I went with Ryan's advice there. And he's averaging just under 5 points a game. And the fact that he's only at $8 million was there for me. And I also had Carlos Vela up top as well. And so that was where I was going. And I've got a couple of odd ones like Fagundes going up against Minnesota because he's at home, that kind of thing.
And make sure you're following ATL Ryan Walked for his weekly primer. He'll give you a lot of suggestions. Ask him questions, too. He's great at interacting with people all over the country in fantasy advice. And get your team set. Once games lock, you can't change those players. But you've got a kind of rolling kickoff time throughout Saturday. So there's going to be some players that you might want to play, but you might want to make sure they're in the lineup. And you got that one game late on Sunday with Austin and with Minnesota. If you're looking at those teams and players, you might want to make sure you got cover or have a couple of options in that game if you're looking at it.
I mean, for goalkeeper, you could always look at Orlando because I don't know what Chicago is going to be able to create on the road. If you want to go Stuver in Austin, if you're worried that Minnesota's not going to be able to create, if the heat of the day kind of drags that game into a quagmire, Nashville's keeper against Sporting Kansas City, just because Sporting Kansas City hasn't been able to consistently put things together.
Yeah, they're such a weird. I keep waiting on them to do it. They're not going to be as good as they should be because
I keep waiting for them to have a coming out party. And honestly, I keep waiting for them to have like a 3 or 4 goal game where you hit regression in 90 minutes. And that doesn't mean that's what they'll always be, but I keep waiting for them to regress in a 90-minute period. That's kind of terrifying. Someone's going to catch that. And that doesn't mean that they're going to be fixed, but I just kind of keep waiting for it to hit.
Yeah, we will see. That's our MLS preview. A couple other things before we go. Just remember this weekend we are on Star 94. You can still check that out on the Odyssey app. Just go to the Star 94 page instead. You can listen on the Atlanta United app. We're on at 1 o'clock with Five Stripes Countdown, and then kickoff is, let's see what it is. The MLS website will have that. It's an ABC game, so that could be a funky kick time.
ABC's coming on air at 1:30.
Yes, it's a 1:38 kick. Not bad. It's a normal kick time, so 1:38 after 1:30 start on TV. So again, we're on air at 1 o'clock on Star 94. Full-time report will be normal this time around. Last segment, I'm probably taking it, and then Miller might be my co-host for that last segment. We'll see how that goes. That'll be fun. To get Miller to slander somebody, maybe the Carolina Panthers. Who knows? It'll be fun.
Miller don't talk up South Georgia Tormenta if we're not careful.
He might. 45 minutes away from the draw. It could be a Voltron. It could be a GoBot. It could be a Transformer overseeing it. It might not be anybody. They might mess it up. They might have the mute button on. They might not have the camera facing the right way. Anything is possible in this draw. I'm guessing it's coming from Soccer House. The production standards have not been very high on these in the past. So stay tuned, but we should know who Atlanta United will be facing in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup draw between Birmingham, Chattanooga FC, the NISA team in Chattanooga, and South Georgia Tormenta. It's one of those three in the third round later this month. Don't know which one yet. Don't know if it's home. Don't know if it's away. I am under the impression, I don't have this like completely confirmed, but I'm under the impression that Atlanta has put in to host, so they can host. It's a draw. Basically, the way it works is if you got a venue that meets the standard and you say you can host on the dates that are possible, you have the possibility to get drawn to host. There are some teams who don't have a stadium that meets the standard. There are some teams that can't host on the dates that these games are going to be played, and they are drawn not to be able to host. But then sometimes U.S. Soccer messes that up anyway, and then it screws up the whole draw. So we'll find out what happens. That is at noon. Tomorrow night, 7:30, Fifth Third Bank Stadium, Atlanta United 2 hosting Detroit City, coming off of an Open Cup win on Tuesday. I don't know if they will bring their vociferous amounts of smoke and smell, as the Michigan Stars complained about.
Yes.
I don't know if they'll bring that to Fifth Third Bank Stadium. I don't think they're allowed to bring that in. And if it's going to smell, I really hope they don't.
Well, I mean, maybe our windows will be closed in the S suite, so we won't have to smell.
If they bring the smelly smoke, yes, I'm closing the windows. I'm making an executive decision.
So that will be it's going to be interesting. I mean, with Detroit City, the newest member, one of the newest members in USL Championship, having worked their way up from NPSL into NISA, now to USL Championship. They had a 1-1 draw last time out in Keyworth, and so how will they do on the road, especially on short rest, having played midweek in Open Cup? That's going to be a couple of interesting questions for me.
Yeah, they're not a very deep team. They don't have a huge roster, and they went full strength in a kind of a local derby in Open Cup on Tuesday. So we will see what they can do in that one. Some news, if you've not seen it, I retweeted, a bunch of people retweeted it. The goal of the year, decade, life, I don't know, all of the above. Quito Diaz of Barcelona in Ecuador. He scored a goal Olímpico from the corner with the outside of his right foot. Yes, it was not the in-swinging, curling in. It was the outside of the right foot from the corner. Almost, maybe a little bit of Tres Dedos. Absurdity at just an incredible level to have the grapefruits to pull that one off and to actually execute it. It is one of the greatest goals I've ever seen, one of the most unexpected goals I've ever seen. And that's why we have talked about Quito on this show many, many times. He is a madman. And perfect timing. They just pulled up Dos Candidatos al Puskas on TIC, and they are showing the Quito goal, which goalkeeper's cheating out to the top of the six, waiting for the outswinging cross, and Quito takes it quickly with the outside of his right foot and puts it into the far side netting. Incredible. And the other goal that they're mentioning as a candidate for the Puskás Award, which is the goal of the year, is the goal from Dimitri Payet of Marseille yesterday, which is an absolute freaking rocket into the upper 90 that's got John giggling like a schoolgirl. That thing was rising the whole way. It would have probably went into the concourse above the lower level of the stands on a laser if the net hadn't been there. I mean, it's just continually going up. He hits it where it's got backspin. Just beautiful. Off the hop, half volley, incredible goal from Payet. So 2 amazing goals yesterday. Check those out. Bad news out of France. Conrad de la Fuente has an injury. He's going to have surgery. It's going to take him out for the rest of the year. Kind of fell out of favor in the second part of the season with Marseille. He's 20 years old. Plenty of time to recover. I think Jorge Sampaoli really likes him, but he's going to have surgery. I believe it is a meniscus issue. Not a major long-term surgery, but it's going to be enough to take him out of the rest of the season. So bad news for Conrad de la Fuente. Jose Mourinho lost to Bodo Glimt again. Like back-to-back losses.
I told y'all to watch out for them.
Well, I mean, they beat them 6-1 in the group stage. That was when I think Jose Mourinho was trying to get knocked out of the tournament. He didn't. They had to go play him again in the first leg, and they lost 2-1, and he got hit with a snowball the day before the game.
Yeah.
bad times for Jose Mourinho in Norway. I don't think he wants to go back.
This team is coached by a man who fully embraces the psychology of the job because they're at the Arctic Dam Circle, and that team is drilled psychologically to be tougher than nails. Also, they play a really fun style. Don't play Bodo Glimt if you can help it. They are not to be messed with.
Run. Well, it's 2-1. You get the second leg in Rome. You should be okay.
Yeah.
You should be okay. They should be okay. They should be okay. If they don't, then Jose might be looking for another job. If you get knocked out of the Europa Conference League by Bodo Glimt, I don't know if Jose's job security is that good. We'll see. For some reason, Carlos Queiroz' job security is great after being horrible for Colombia early on in the qualifiers and then showing up in Egypt. And he did get them to the AFCON final, which they didn't win. And he got them to the final round of qualifying for the World Cup, and Senegal knocked him out again. It looks like he's going to get another contract with Egypt, according to reports in Egypt. Egypt, what y'all doing, man? Like, no, go in a different direction. I don't think Egypt has the money that Brazil reportedly has. They're prepared to offer a boatload of cash to Pep Guardiola to become the national team manager after the World Cup. I mean, Pep likes money, but it is Brazil. Like, look, I mean, there's certain jobs that turn your head a little bit, no matter how good of a spot you're in. I don't think he's ready for that yet. I don't think he wants that yet. I don't think he wants national team work yet. I think he likes the day-to-day at a club, and I don't think he takes it, but that's fascinating to me. Reportedly, they wanted Xavi before he took the Barcelona job. They were trying to bring him in as the successor to Tite, but they weren't able to pull that off. He's at Barcelona. Xavi's complaining about the quality of the pitch in Germany. Xavi, there is a thing that people are way too keyed in on and trying to take shots at Xavi because that's what we do, right? He has good games and Xavi Renaissance. Everything's great. And he has a loss and he complains about the quality of the pitch. Oh, Xavi's a bum. Yeah. He does have a bad tendency to, when they lose, to talk about the quality of the pitch. That's kind of the number one go-to. Keep an eye on that one. He might need a new go-to. Villarreal are trying to keep Giovanni Lo Celso through the end of next season, keep him on loan from Tottenham, maybe make it a permanent. Darwin Nunez at Benfica, probably on the move. He has changed his representation, which is usually a good sign that things are about to happen. And he is signed with a representative close to Jorge Mendes, which definitely means things are about to happen. So Darwin Nunez on the way out of Benfica, and where will he go? It will be a very expensive move wherever it happens. And an update from Germany on Chris Richards. Hoffenheim want to extend the loan and keep him in, but they would prefer to sign him on a permanent deal, according to Florian Plettenberg. It sounds like they could talk about it. Hoffenheim, really happy. They like him personally. They like him with his ability on the field. They like what he can turn into, and they'd like to get him on a permanent deal. We'll see if Bayern will do that, because I don't think Bayern has any real designs on playing Chris Richards, so it feels like it could be a win for everybody. Keep an eye on Manchester City stuff. There's two different things happening right now. There is one that is a little bit of a rehash on the situation that they ended up getting off on a technicality on with UEFA after initially being suspended for intentional breaches of financial fair play. Football Leaks has dropped some new information on that one. But the other one I think is more important. The Premier League is investigating them, and they were investigating this before, never really ruled on anything. UEFA ruled, and then City got off on a technicality. The Premier League has never ruled on anything, and they've been investigating for 3 years, and they got more concrete stuff to me. It's focused on illegal payments for underage players, inflated sponsorship deals, which has been part of both of it, hidden salary payments made to a former manager. I'm not sure exactly how that affects financial fair play, but anyway, the illegal payments for underage players is the one that kind of jumps out, because that's one that the Premier League will come down hard on. Der Spiegel has published details from its own investigation conducted in conjunction with the European Investigative Collaborations, EIC, journalism network. Those are the three areas that the Premier League is checking on. The Premier League and City both declined to comment when approached by BBC Sport and Der Spiegel. This is continuing on from the financial fair play issues, but you're getting more detail here. It's not just about the inflated sponsorship deals, which can be kind of wishy-washy and tough to deal with, and how that works. And we've had the conversation about financial fair play and how owners can't really invest in the team, but they find ways to do it through this kind of stuff. If you're paying underage players in ways that you shouldn't, or paying to bring them in when you shouldn't be able to, we've seen teams who have been cracked down on with that before. That's not one I think you can get off on. So, and the Premier League looking at it as opposed to UEFA creates some different conversations. So keep an eye on the stuff with Manchester City and where it can go. Also, Jarrett, you will be happy to know that a 32-year-old man, unnamed at this point, has been arrested and charged in connection with an incident where a bottle was thrown at Ibrox Stadium. One man sustained injuries as a result of this and required treatment. Can assume that would have been the Celtic staff member who was hit and needed stitches, but a 32-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with it. His name is not public yet. Good job, Scottish police.
Good job. You did your job. Now don't let it happen in the first place, and make Rangers play their next game behind closed doors.
And ban him for a long time from being in stadiums anywhere.
Absolutely.
All right, that'll do it for us. Later today, John is putting together what?
The hell are we talking about John Copolello in the chat for? Take that to the Discord, y'all. Don't bring that foolishness in my life.
Yeah, Will, what are you doing? Jeez, crazy. Later today, after the Open Cup draw is done, John is compiling a reaction show to that, and I believe Jarrett is taking part in it. So yes. Duck and or put headphones on so kids can't hear it.
We'll invite you. Don't worry. We'll invite you.
No, I want no part of it. No, I'm staying away from that. I'm not getting myself in trouble. I know better than that. Y'all can go off the rails, and I don't want to be associated with it. So headphones on for that one, and maybe put earmuffs on your kids if that one's played loudly.
Maybe an earmuff show.
Things get out of pocket. That'll be, who knows, depending on how long this draw goes. That might be 1, 2 o'clock, whoever. Look for that on the SDH network. Tomorrow, 2's ESPN Plus or live at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. Sunday, 1 o'clock for the Five Stripes Countdown on Star 94, the Odyssey app, and on the Atlanta United app, and 1:38 kickoff. Then the full-time report after that, and that'll go out as a podcast as well. And then we're back on Monday at 9:05 for Overreaction Monday. Thanks again to everybody who helped us make the event last night happen. Thank you to Santiago Sosa for taking so much time with us. Thank you to Marcelino Moreno and Tiago Almada for coming out. Thank you to Scott and Jen from the Flood Project for all the organization that you guys did. Thank you to the Argentine Consulate here in Atlanta for bringing so many new friends out to the show. Thank you to everybody at Elsewhere Brewing. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. You can go back and watch that on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/soccer down here. We will see you on Monday for Overreaction Monday. Mucho plata, y'all.
Mucho plata, y'all.
Mucho plata, y'all.